guys, go ahead and hit that like button. We are about to get started. Hit that thing. Also, hey, I was told that by somebody who watched the show afterwards, y'all could barely hear me last week. Y'all have to tell me these things. Y'all have to let me know. I know it earlier on in the game, like a meme. Y'all have to let me know. So, we're going to get started here soon. Let me know if y'all can't hear me. And we are about to get going. All right. All right. So with that, let's get started. Holy cow. Whew, we've had a day, not even a week. Like we had a day today. I was thinking this morning, oh, okay, I'm going to talk about the EA stuff. I'm going to talk about some Ubisoft stuff. I'm going to follow up on maybe a couple stories here and there that I see that are interesting. And then I get handed a gift. I get handed a gift in the form of the crap. Who is it? Who screwed up today? In the form of Xbox increasing the price of Gamepass again. We started this bitch at $15. We are now at $30. I don't know about mathematicians out there, but that's double where we were. That's insane. And so we're going to discuss that tonight. But first, I did find some really cool topics to talk about tonight. And I'm not even kidding. I found some really fun ones. I found some things that kind of tickled my fancy, tickled my interest. Like Peter Pan might be getting a new game. That's really cool. And it's from a dude who worked on who's worked on children's games over with Lego. So like I'm actually kind of excited about that. I love Peter Pan as an IP. One of my favorite movies is Hook. So, yeah, saw that and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And so, yeah, Hero, I always predicted 35 to 40, so we are close. Hey, listen, there was no way in hell they were going to get Call of Duty and Diablo and all of these other things into Game Pass and not get a price increase. It just wasn't going to happen. But we have the Peter Pan story. I thought that was really cool. I've told y'all before I was going to keep following the Ubisoft 10-cent story with everything going on with Ubisoft, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. They actually started up the studio. It is called Vantage Studios, and today was the first day of operations. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, they have full creative control. That's the thing that I kind of want to talk about, because they got full creative and business control over this. So that's pretty interesting. That means Big Daddy Ubisoft can't come in and do anything with it. It is structured. It is set up to where they are set apart from the main company in a full like hands-off role. Now, that's what we knew about Bungie when that purchase was done, or when they came over. I wonder if it has safeguards in there. It probably does. Like, hey, if stuff starts going to dog water, then we can go ahead and step in, take over, and bring you back into and under our management. I don't necessarily see that happening, but I'm sure there's safeguards. Then we had the news that EA got bought out. Okay, that happened 2 days after the podcast last week. So that happened on Friday. It was a rumor, and then it was not a rumor. And really quickly. And so EA's buyers, though, hope that AI can be used to help cut operating costs and boost profits. I'm guessing the AI, I'm guessing that the people who bought it looked at the Madden game and were like, you know what? For the minimal upgrades that they do, we could probably get AI to do it a whole lot cheaper and just give them a roster update fully, and, we'll call it good. But we got to get into the article to see exactly what they mean here. And then, Lord help for the meat and potatoes. I am telling you guys, I've said it before, PlayStation doesn't have to do anything. And they came out today smelling like fucking roses. I mean roses. Like, they came out smelling amazing today. You know what looks really good? You know what looks... PS Plus Premium. And I hate the premium tier. But it ain't $30 a month. It's just not. I can see Faulkie listening to my intro and just just chuckling along with this. It's quite comical. Logic said he's on his way, by the way. Um, and so here's here's the newest in the long line of stuff. They are now moving away from day and date games. Who'd have thought? Never heard that before. They are increasing the price. No kidding. I wonder who said they were going to have to do that. And yeah, they're offering you less on the lower tiers, but you get 400 plus games and 75 day one games a year. 75 day one games a year.
What a promise.
Dude, I want to know how far down in the well
What
they.
what a promise. The 75 plus day one games per year.
Cat Dog Licking Simulator 4? Like, is
Man.
that. is it-
Then they say the first. Sorry, I am going to jump in here and interrupt your intro.
Hmm.
75 plus day one games per year, including all Xbox Publishers games day one in Ultimate level, right?
Yes, correct.
But then there's no um, guarantee that that's the only place to be able to get them, and you can potentially buy them on other platforms for less than 3 months worth of Ultimate now.
Yes.
So um, you can still buy them on Xbox for less than 3 months worth of Ultimate. So
It's a
um,
factual statement.
there's some. I'll just jump in on this.
This was
Xbox Game
supposed to
Pass
be this was
Essentials.
supposed to be a later topic, but that's okay.
They've now. I'm looking at a picture here, and there's three different levels:
Yes.
Essentials, Premium, Ultimate.
Yes.
And you referenced it before. It sounds an awful lot like some other product that's currently out in the market, where there's a limited number of games, and then there's an increased catalog of games, and there's even a bigger increased catalog of games.
Uh-huh.
Now, who'd have thought that would be a sensible way to approach it with a multi-level point?
With no
The
day and
thing that,
date. Just want to point that out. With no day and date.
yeah, no day and date, no day and date. Um, yeah, interesting. I think the piece that's been glossed over though is that PC is now pegged to the same price as non-PC, and so they've just absolutely shackled their biggest growth area. But there's a rewards thing that comes with it, so stand by. There's rewards.
Oh yeah, so you
Get
can make
get
$100
points
of
for
your
finishing
360
quests.
back.
Yeah, yeah. You can get points and you can redeem them, but you can't redeem them for straight into your subscription. You've got to take it through gift cards to then be able to use in your subscription. But then, if you read into the fine print, you can only use so much of gift cards to buy your subscriptions. So, effectively, they're not allowing you to just free ball the system anymore, so to speak. Um, anyway, yeah. There's no discounts in there though.
No, there's
That's the
no.
one thing that's there's no discounts.
Mm-mm.
You know, um, I did note it's not in any of the wording that I've seen. Um, you know how with some of them, if you're a subscription member, you get discounts to buy the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reference in any of these things so far where it suggests that that's going to continue in its current guise. So, unless it's just a given, and it'd be handy if someone could confirm it because I haven't managed to read across it. I've been sort of away from social media for the better part of the last week and a half, but got a week to go on holidays. There's this massive push about this whole rewards points thing, and there's the
So
discounts.
it does look like, according to this right here, Ultimate subscribers can now earn up to $100 per year, 100K points globally in the store just by playing games. With our upgraded rewards program, players can get up to 30% value on select Game Pass games with 4 times points on purchases of games and add-ons, 10% back in points on select Game Pass library titles and add-ons, and up to 20% off select Game Pass games. So it with that last line, it seems like they will be getting some sort of a discount somewhere on something. So I I I don't know what that's actually going to translate to. It also looks like they're trying to push people to this point system that, PlayStation tried one of those. Obviously, it didn't do well for them, or they would have kept it. Uh, but yeah, this is another where Xbox looked over the fence and was like, "Oh, hey, that is working for them. You mean we can do a subscription service and not give away games for free?" Yeah. Oh, damn,
I
we've
think
been
the
doing this
big
shit wrong. Go
the
ahead.
bit that really I laughed my ass off when I read this was when it was Xbox Game Pass Premium. Xbox published games to the service, excluding Call of Duty, within a year of launch in addition to rewards. So to get Call of Duty within as a new Xbox published game within the year, you've got to have Ultimate. Like,
Yes.
how many different rakes are they, or how many different toes are they going to shoot off? Like, come on. I'm still stuck on this 75 plus day one games a year. Even with ABK and all the stuff they've bought, they can't even crack 20 games a year to come out of their studios. Where are they going to get all these day one games from? It's going to cost them a fucking fortune.
I'm
Unreal. Oh, sorry. I stand corrected. I need to stand corrected because all the smart asses out there said that Game Pass was profitable. Ergo, there should be no need for a price increase. They should be able to just reach into Daddy's wallet and give us all this shit for free. Bunch of dumbasses.
just Hey, I got something for you. You mentioned stepping on a rake. I have a picture of I have a video of Phil Spencer actually, um, and it's crazy because it was from so long ago. But it was Phil Spencer being predicted 15 years ago, I think. It was over 15 at this point. So hang on, let me get this thing. Here we go. Here we go. Here, that's not big enough. We got to go bigger. There you go. This is actual footage of Phil Spencer as he walks into every morning meeting now. This Well, no, this clip was uploaded to YouTube 15 years ago, according to the stamp. There you go. We got to see Phil Spencer actually go into the morning meeting. Look at us go. Lord help. How do you do this? How do you... And okay, so there's two factors that have me confused. And I put it in the Discord earlier. Guys, if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. I'm not going to have to keep saying this. Y'all know what to do. It's in the link, it's in the description, it's all that stuff. But I had asked earlier, let me see if I can find it. I should have bookmarked it. Uh, but God, it was so bad, dude. The whole when you see Paris coming out and going, "Hey, this ain't the best deal in gaming no more," like that dude has shilled harder than I think anybody else has for Xbox, and even he's like, "Hey, guess what? I can't. I just can't. I can't anymore. It's no longer worth it. It's not the best deal in gaming." But here's what really confused me a bit, because there's so many different thoughts that went through my head when this first happened. Because as soon as it happened, it's like puzzle pieces in my brain started falling into place from where I thought they were going to go anyways. But one, does this promote the console sales at all, or is this just one more step to getting rid of the console and becoming more software focused? Two, how many Game Pass users will stop Game Pass altogether and go back to buying games? Three, if you are profitable, then why would you increase your price over 30% on your top tier? And then four, with PC players getting shafted the most, will this provide the spark to cancel or just drop down to premium? Those were all questions that I had at 10:10 a.m. this morning. And that was, I don't know, that was a couple hours, no, less than an hour after the news launched of all of this. And so those questions all flooded because we know that they're losing space at Costco. We know that here. Let me bring this up real quick. We know that Costco has basically cut ties with putting the Xbox on the shelf. Sam's Club, at least the one in my hometown, is not carrying Xbox anymore either. They got PlayStation everything, like all the PlayStation shit. I can go in there right now and get a PSVR 2, a PlayStation Portal, the Joy or the controllers, the console, any one of them that I want. Like, but you can't find an Xbox. And so Josh Ayers just said EB Games in Australia has cut them, uh,
Yeah.
which is against what even uh, what even the analysts were saying, where they'd say like the specialty stores were still going to keep carrying them. Well, EB is hell of a specialty store, and they're saying no. So like none of this
I
makes
need to jump
sense.
in. I need to jump in on and put a bit more to that because local EV store, I'm chatting with the store manager there and what was happening. They're not carrying it because Xbox isn't presenting them anything.
Oh,
So
oh,
it's not like they've made the decision to just stop selling it because there's nothing there to sell. They've had to stop selling it because Xbox is not sending them anything. They're not getting consoles. They've got no consoles at all. My local, my local one, town I live in, and everywhere within a 200k radius, which includes parts of the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, none of the EB Games or JB Hi-Fi or Harvey Norman or any of the big electrical retailers have got Xbox consoles that are brand new for sale that they have received in the last 6 months. It's damn near impossible to find one on a shelf somewhere in this part of the country. Now, it might be different in different parts of Australia, but for where I live. And the reasoning I was told was Xbox doesn't want to supply them anymore to brick and mortar stores. They will send some new games, but they're very limited. They will send, and it's only the publisher that sends them through, not Xbox themselves. They have got controllers, but they're again very limited in stock. And they have got headsets, again very limited in stock. But it's damn near impossible to get anything console-wise from it, and the reason was primarily Xbox is not supporting brick and mortar stores anymore. And it's a decision from Microsoft rather than a decision, or say decision from Microsoft's Xbox rather than a decision of the local carriers. So if you're not getting support from the main providers and you're operating a business, there's no point in giving them floor space. Absolutely none. The current local EB Games that I have has got a bay that has got traded second-hand games for Xbox, so it's bargain bin, and it's got a half a dozen controllers, and that's it. That's all they've got. That's all they're stocking. They're not even getting new stuff in. They're not even going to bother. Because, again, they're not getting any support from the OEM. Whereas PlayStation, they've got half a wall. It's 6-8 meter span on a wall just for PlayStations. They've got consoles everywhere. Nintendo, same deal, right next to it on the other side of the wall. 6 to 8 meter span, floor to ceiling.
yeah.
Stuff everywhere. And yeah, the biggest. And then they've got Logitech and all the, the third party guys for the headsets and peripherals and all that sort of stuff sitting on a wall next to it. And the PC stuff is all there. The stupidest thing about it, they've got Metal Gear Solid Delta posters everywhere about it being, played on Xbox. Can't buy the game in store.
Wait, really?
Can't buy the
Yes.
game in store. You can get it for PlayStation. Can't get it for an Xbox, even though the posters have got Xbox all written around them. The publisher sent through the posters, and then we're told, no, you're not sending. Can't send the games.
That's
So yeah, it's
what?
not just like one company has decided not to do it because it doesn't make economic sense for them. It is worse than what's been put out there because
So they're
Xbox is not
just
supporting
done?
brick and mortar. Pretty
They're
much.
just said F it and we're done?
Well, it's horses for courses. If they're not producing them out of the factory and they're not selling them off the floor, Xbox and Microsoft's attitude here is, well, we just sell it direct. You buy it from us and we'll sell it direct, and we'll just do a partnership arrangement with someone. We don't really see any point in supporting retail anymore if we can't shift these things en masse.
I mean,
So yeah,
yeah.
and that's an entirely different model. Like, so PlayStation and Nintendo do that to a degree, but it's an entirely different business model than what brick and mortar support is. So yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all. And again, the new ROG Xbox Ally X. if I got the wording right, because people are cracking the shits about getting the Xbox part in the wording. Um, you can order them online and get them direct, but I think they had like 4 of them available for pre-order in my local EB Games. Don't bother trying to get a Steam Deck down here. They're damn near impossible to get since they launched them here. But yeah, the Logitech and the ROG and all that sort of stuff, you can get them, but yeah, it's like anything that's got Xbox on it is not being supported at all. And if the OEM's not going to support you as a retailer, why would you give them floor space? You don't. You just give the floor space to someone who is going to support you. So like EB Games Australia replaced the Xbox part with a like a retro game business model.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say. So in ours, I almost thought we had 2 Nintendo sections at ours. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, because you walk in and you have the Funko Pops on the left. You have, like, in the middle, like, right inside the middle of the entrance, you have, like, the clearance table where they put all the crap from, like, last season right in front of you. So they're like, hey, buy all this crap. It's summertime. You need a hoodie. Buy this hoodie. It's $5. Take it. And, like, then to the right, you have, in our store at least, you had what I was like, I looked over and was like, that's Nintendo, cool, and I kept going. Well, and then I hit the little tiny, like, retro section that they had for PlayStation. It has some PS2 games, PS3 games, some controllers, stuff like that. And it was, hang on, I think I need to get, oh, I know. Logic, if you're listening, I got you. Here you go. I got you. I'm here now. I know what happened. Try it now. There you go. So then you go down a bit and you have the PS5 PlayStation section with all the accessories and all that shit. Right after that, you have all the games. Go down further, you have a big ass wall for Nintendo. And I mean big. It spans probably 1.5 times the size of the PlayStation 1. It's massive. It wraps in. It's like a whole corner of the store. Well, when I saw that, I was like, wait, what the hell is this? Why is this here? I go back, and apparently my brain registered Nintendo, but it didn't. It like lumped Nintendo in with like all facets, and so my brain was like, oh, Switch, Nintendo, cool. No. When you walk in now to your right, there's like Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo. There's all this other shit. It's like a Nintendo Power like section. It's fucking sick. And when I saw that, and then I saw the diminishing spot for the Xbox section, I asked him. I said, guys, why? Like, what's going on? This was before the Costco stuff was announced. This was when I was picking up Lost Soul Aside. And they were like, well, I mean, honestly, we don't get many people in here asking for any of it. So the more people that don't ask for it, the more we keep having to send back to corporate, and they send us other stuff to put in its place. They're like, we had to fight to keep what we have on the shelf because we have a couple Xbox gamers that still come in and get physical. And I was like, really? And so it makes sense what you're saying, but that's just wild for them not to even ship it anymore. And so we have Logic in here now with us. Welcome, Logic.
Hey, Thrifty. Hey, David. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, perfectly.
Yeah. How are you, mate?
Yeah, it sounds a lot like, there was a day 20 years ago or so when I walked into GameStop, and I used to go to my GameStop like every Saturday morning.
Yes.
There was a day that I walked in, and suddenly the PC games, the shrink-wrapped PC physical games, were no longer on the shelf. They'd all been cleared out, and nothing had been replaced there, but like the shelf had just been cleared. And kind of the same thing that you're saying, Thrifty. I was like, hey guys, what's going on? And back in the day when like the internet wasn't prevalent and like we didn't have lots of the information that comes out, like it was these were the type of physical representations that you would see that would tip you off that, hey, something weird is going on in this market, right? That I study and observe and go on. So yeah, when you those of us who lived through that, when you have seen, and I had a similar experience at Best Buy, I was in Best Buy, and I looked through the Nintendo section, and I looked through the PlayStation section, and there's little end caps in the console section. Um, and typically the way they are is they have one console on one side and the other console on the other side. So I was coming down the PlayStation aisle, and I turned the corner, and I was in like the Xbox section was like one little partition, right, of the whole aisle. So if you know how like retail aisles are like, you can see the partitions in the shelves, and there's like 5 or 6 like for a half aisle or so. Like the Xbox thing was one of those. And so same thing, like that little birdie in my head went off that I had seen something like this before. And I went up and I asked the guy, I was like, hey, what's going on? Like the shelf space for Xbox is like non-existent in comparison to the other consoles. So, and lo and behold, like same thing. He was saying, hey, the reality is we got our last shipment. This was over the summer. And he was like, we got our last shipment back in January, and once we sold those, we were told don't order anymore unless somebody comes in and is trying to order one and really makes an issue out of it.
That's freaking wild, man. Like it's that kind of stuff. Like, because our GameStop is super supported here. Like, it really is. They're going to keep everything in stock the longest of any other GameStop I've ever seen, because they have upgraded their building. They've done all this other stuff. When they were closing down GameStops across the country, ours were giving their employees raises. And like I say ours, we have one here. The employees said they got raises, their hours got better, they were listened to, all this other, like, I don't know what it is about this little ass GameStop in Central Arkansas, but it seems to be foolproof from all the bullshit that goes on with GameStop. And so the fact that yours, Logic, you said yours happened over the summer and mine is just now happening, just further solidifies that I think the gaming community in my city is like really, really supportive, because you're talking about how they were told not to anymore, and mine still had it at least for a couple months after. Faulkie, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, so we opened with Gamepass price rise.
Yes.
We've now discussed the lack of OEM support for brick and mortar. So, and do you see how the loop's closing? And who was talking about this being the game plan 12, 18, 24 months ago when they first went with the ABK snatch? Like, there's at least 2, if not 3 of us in this conversation that were eyeballing this going, that's a real possibility.
But we were ponies, remember? We can't think logically, and we can't come to logical conclusions, because everything that we say is filtered through PlayStation Blue, and because of that, or at least that's what's assumed, and so because of that assumption, nobody took a damn thing any of us said with any kind of seriousness whatsoever. And
it's a horrible thing to even be sitting here talking about this. That it's actually coming to fruition. This was like left of field, far out there going, I can see it on the horizon. I do not see why they would go and chop their nose off to spite their face in this manner, because it will piss off so many people, and they will alienate an entire base of support that they've got that they desperately need to have, trying to chase a base of support that they don't even care about them. And they've actually gone and done it. Like, they are trying to bury themselves. The comment that Pacta made about Sony, he picked the wrong company. He should have said it about Xbox. They are dead set trying to pivot to something that doesn't exist, force it into existence. And the last 3 times they tried, this is blown up in their face. It is sad to see this happening. It is genuinely sad as a gamer to see this happening.
This is what happens when I made a comment a long time ago that they almost feel like, and I always get it wrong, I think it's Nightingale syndrome, or no, Stockholm syndrome. Sorry, that's the one. It feels like Stockholm syndrome. And hell, fuck yeah, I think you've been on the show when I've made this analogy. They have been so conditioned over in the Xbox camp to not buy their games to there was that study that was released a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago of they play like what 12 games a month, but their game time is like 60 minutes or something like that, or 72 minutes a month. So like they're spending 5 to 7 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in each game and then bouncing off of it, or like that's wild to me. And this is what happens when you are conditioned to be a renter only. This is what happens when you are conditioned to be a subservice subscriber. This is the best way I can put it. And when your whole gaming profile and your whole gaming library is tied into a subservice, you kind of take more than I think you probably would as a gamer, because what are you going to do? Like, there are people legitimately right now who are in the position of, I keep paying $360 a year, or I don't really have access to the games that I've been playing for so long. Like, that's the part. Like, so when you say it sucks, yeah, because when you start thinking about it like that, you're like, damn, there's a lot of gamers that are about to get screwed over because a company led them down this way with very, very clever marketing and very clever tactics, and has literally had to do a 180 because they screwed up so much. Like, the biggest key statement that I can remember was when Phil Spencer was doing his interview with Shaggy. I know the guy has an actual name. I cannot think of it. His name is Shaggy to me. And that's all I can remember his name as. Thank you, Jez. But he was doing the interview with him. It was at one of the game shows or shortly after one of the... Anyways. And he had said they were going over Call of Duty. Hey, that's it. Ryan McAfee. They were going over the games coming out, and Call of Duty was coming and all that. And not Shaggy. Damn it. Ryan was sitting there and said, well, I mean, yeah, and you can play it on Game Pass, and that's great. And Phil's immediate response was, yeah, I mean, you can, or you can buy it. Like, either way, if you buy it, it helps the developers, it helps us. And if you don't, you still have the choice to play it on Game Pass. And I'm like, that to me right there was that was a bigger bombshell than I think most people gave it credit for. And we talked about it here for about 2 weeks because it was literally that big in my mind for him to admit in that moment that game sales are becoming a greater focus. And I have never seen him jump to game sales first that fast as he did when Ryan was like, yeah, you can get it on Game Pass and then you can play it that way. It's a $70 game. And Phil was like, or you could buy it.
Who'd have thunk it?
But guys, we told them. They wouldn't listen. Can't feel sorry for them. Okay, so Shattered Glass 23, welcome in. I have not seen you here before, or at least I haven't seen you here in a while, so welcome back. Yes, there are two sides of this show tonight, and thankfully, I have two very level-headed individuals on tonight. One in Faulkie and the other one in Logic. So, we're not going to really probably dive in to the ha-ha, take our shirts off, run around the building, say, ha-ha, we were right, we got you, y'all were wrong, next time listen to us, you fucking idiots. Because we have the ability to say those things. But,
a little bit more class than that.
Well, I'm American, remember? And so... yeah. Anyways, Logic. Let's go to intros now. How about that? Shit. Oh, Logic. How are you, man? Thank you. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Good, man. I mean, it's a great day for me as a gamer. I'm not crying at my Wheaties, and I don't need to be all in my feelings about stuff that has gone on that I ran around waving my terrible towel about, saying would never happen. And I mean, and there's sentiments out there that are like, hey, we knew prices were going to go up. This isn't a surprise. I'm like, yes, I agree with that. However, and I saw a clip from Paris Lily today, and I'm like, Yeah, but my thoughts on this were along the lines of Paris. I would have expected that it would have been an incremental price bump, and I don't care if they come along like every few months. I mean, Netflix did this to us, right? But I was expecting them to be like $1, $2, $3, $5 at most, right? Incremental price jumps at that level that, and I do it all the time, that a consumer looks at that, they see the notification come across their email, and they see that it's going up by like $1, and they're like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, okay, whatever, you know? And you just go on. And maybe you mentally establish a tripwire and you say, hey, you know, incremental price increases can go up, can continue, and then, but like at X dollar number, I'm out, right? Or I'm going to start making decisions. But this is a $10 price jump in one fell swoop. And I think the thing that should not go like unacknowledged. Like even the Xbox camp shouldn't look at that and say, you know, hey, that's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. Like that is not the norm in the world, in the modern day and age of subscription services. They don't typically jump by $10 a month. This is $120 a year.
Yeah, no, the typical jump is what they did with their premium tier, where PC players are now going to be paying like what, $2, $3 extra a month. That's the typical jump that you would see. Go ahead.
Yeah, their jump was actually because they went from $11.99 a month to $16.50 a month for PC Game Pass.
Okay, see, I thought they were $12.99 a month, and they went up to $15 or $14.99 for premium. Now is what they were going to be transferred over to, right?
With I may have missed because I was shifting web pages or something, but I thought you were talking about PC Game Pass. But so PC Game Pass, and I should further articulate. This is what we're going to do a lot of tonight, right? Because what came out today needs a freaking spreadsheet, right, to parse it and understand it. It is so ridiculously convoluted. So
Having a good day.
So let's talk about PC Game Pass. So first of all, if you are a Game Pass subscriber, you are all now PC Game Pass subscribers. Every single one of you. There is no tier that does not include PC game access. For what we had historically known as PC Game Pass, that is now the PC only plan, right? And that one was, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that one was $11.99 per month, and it's now $16.50 per month. So it jumped by like $4 and it jumped by like $4.50. That PC only plan now is actually the cheapest way to gain access to day and date. If that is an important thing to you, you only get it on PC. But it is there at $16.50, and then the only other way to get day and date is to pay in at Ultimate at $30. I think the last thing I'll mention before we get out of intros, before you go into Faulkie's intro, is the other thing that should not be mistaken and should not be like ignored and left as something minor, because it's not minor, is at $30. This is now the most expensive subscription, right, in terms of standard monthly subscription fees for content. This is now the most expensive subscription in entertainment.
Yep.
Right? The only thing higher than this are like professional sports packages, right, that require you know, that where you're playing for like NFL, right, Sunday Ticket, or
which is only $5 more a month, by the way. NFL Sunday Ticket is $34.95 a month here in the U.S. I keep getting advertisements for it sent to my email. So go ahead.
Yeah. And a lot of those will ask you to buy in like at maybe not ask you. They'll let you give you a monthly option, but like then they discount it, you know, if you buy for the whole season. That's another thing that shouldn't be ignored is in addition to these, what Microsoft, I thought it was hugely like incredible that the way they advertised this today was not as a price increase, but as an upgrade to Game Pass tiered subscription plans. Like, my running joke is for you guys who are. I apologize if I said it during this show already. I said it on Brap. If you watch The Boys, like what happened today is like literally something straight out of Vought International. Like it is like Homelander like lasered a guy in half, and it was caught on a smartphone camera, or the Deep was caught like banging a dolphin, right? And they came back, and Ashley has given them their talking points, and they're going out to sell this and advertise it to people as if it's not a big deal. It's remarkable, right? How they're passing this off. But what also shouldn't, those are the two big things that shouldn't be ignored: the $10 price increase, the fact that it's the most expensive subscription service in gaming in entertainment, That's a straight stick service other than like a professional sports package. So if you think about just your standard stock music, video, or gaming subscriptions, this is now the most expensive. And that there's no way to buy in annually and get a discount.
All right. Pause real quick. Stephen Leon with the 10 gifted members. Holy crap. You hit so many lifetime fans of the Grindhouse, the Playground, Thrifty PlayStation Gamer Reviews, and Aggressively Average Gamer, whatever the hell you want to call the channel. You got Morgan Kimes, Iron Man 4292, Brigadier William Wild Beast, Warawana, Alien TV, Nelson Gaming Culture, Lunchi Sky, Marty McFly, James Williams, J942. If any of y'all heard your name called and you're out here lurking and listening, come on in, say thank you to Faulkie. Also, that just earned y'all Saturday Night Live for a members stream. If you did get one of those gifted members, I invite you back to come onto the show. I invite you back to the channel, rather, for Saturday Night Live. I'll be putting out a poll to see what game y'all want me to play. Fun fact, it's probably going to be a toss-up between one of two games. I'll let you try to decide which two. We're talking about one later. So you said something that I did not realize. Once again, I have read most of the article that I sent y'all from Xbox Wire, but I was under the assumption that, now granted, I understand the word I just used there. I was under the assumption that PC Game Pass was going away. And it was getting wrapped into Game Pass, Premium, Tier, Ultimate, Shitbox, whatever the things are. Like,
so there's good reasons you had to take away. Number one is because in another one of today's diabolical moves, that Xbox Wire news article, which is that's an Xbox site that comes out of Xbox corporate.
Yeah, I know.
The equivalent of the PlayStation blog. It does not mention PC Game Pass in that article at all. Not one iota.
No, but it touts that all the games and everything are now playable on PC,
Yes.
which makes you... That's what I thought meant that it was
Deliberate
merging.
omission. Yeah. So there's that. But then the other thing is then when you... If you were curious about PC Game Pass and you were like, oh, that's weird, they don't mention it at all. Like, I thought if they were making it going away, I would think that they would make it like a very overt, direct statement. And I would think that they would say, hey, all you guys who are on PC Game Pass, you're being converted over to Premium, right? Or something. They make no mention of it. So if you're a curious consumer and you're like, hey, what's going on with my plan? And you go to the Join Game Pass site, right? You see the 3 new plans, and below the 3 new plans, and so on most average resolution screens, you're not going to see this until you scroll down, right? There's a little text box that says PC only game plan with an expansion arrow next to it. So it has no content. It just says PC only game plan. And then you hit the arrow and it expands, and then it has the detail in it. That also is the first place that you will see mention of the price increase, because that is not discussed for the PC only plan now, what used to be called PC Game Pass, because that's not mentioned in the Xbox Game Wire, in the Xbox Wire article either.
Okay, because I'm sitting here looking over it again, and I was like, this doesn't say this shit nowhere. Like, okay. So that's why I really thought that PC guys were getting shafted not once but twice. It's good to know they're only getting shafted one time. That's good to know. They're only getting a little bit of a price increase because now, like you said, it's going up to $16.50, and so cool.
But they're getting, that's just for the PC Essential, yeah.
No, that's for PC. That's for PC only. So the PC only. I'll put it this way: the PC only plan is basically the equivalent of Ultimate, but only for PC.
Yep.
If
so you can't cross-play the console games.
Right. Yes, you're.
Because that plan, the PC Game Pass, doesn't even have access to all the games the console Game Pass does anyways. Hey, Microsoft, if y'all are listening, do y'all see how fucked up this is? I need y'all to hear that you have 3... Well, let me rephrase that. You got 2 really intelligent people here trying to parse this out, and it's still convoluted. Like, can we just look at that for a second and be like, hey, listen, y'all should make this a whole lot easier. Go ahead.
Right. So that's true for your Game Pass only content. Obviously, if you've purchased a game, right, you can play on either console or PC. But yes, if you're talking about a Game Pass title that does, so for instance, I think in the scenario you're talking about, there's a title that's in Game Pass that is available on console, but for whatever reason there is not a version on PC that's in PC Game Pass. Right, you wouldn't have access to that. And I think the more critical thing, and like it goes back to what you're saying, Thrifty, and this is like I say the same thing as part of the dynamic of the Asus ROG Xbox Ally, is that it's going to cause you to scratch your head and go what the f, and like why don't, which is the case that they had the whole time that they've been rolling out this play games that you own via Xbox Cloud Gaming, right? It's like every time you would go to Xbox Cloud Gaming and look for a title that you had paid for that you owned and couldn't play it, you would be like, why can I play that title but I can't play this title? It's going to cause this moment of dissonance where you're like, why can I access that title on console but I can't access that title on PC?
So, in reference to what Logic is talking about, I want y'all to, y'all are going to be on a delay, but I want the folks in the chat to look at the screen real quick. Okay, this is when you go to xbox.com Game Pass, okay? All I did was type in PC Game Pass. I clicked on the first link. It brought me here. It brings you down here and shows you the 3 plans that you can choose from, right? Now, mind you, I selected PC Game Pass and it brought me here. It tells me that these are the 3 things that I can choose from, okay? No big deal. I see all 3. It says available on PC, supported devices. Cool. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. Well, hell, I want day and date games. Boom. I sign up for $30. What doesn't happen is people don't scroll all the way down a lot of times and see that little tiny icon that Logic was talking about. When you click on that, hey, look at this little hidden bastard right here. Look at this little guy. It's such a cute little guy. He's right here. $16.49 a month, hundreds of PC games, new games on day one, including new Xbox published games and third-party games. There's no guarantee of how many, just new games. We don't know. It's not the big 75 games that's touted up here, or at least was touted in the article. They dropped that from this letterhead over here. Then play and earn $50, so that puts you in PC Game Pass, puts you in the same section as, for rewards at least, as Premium, and you get EA Play. Very nice, very, very nice. But they make it convoluted, and I now that I saw that, now that I see that, I it makes sense why they would, because if you don't scroll all the way down, you'd get yourself locked in for $30 a month. Congratulations.
So you bring up a really good point that dovetails into one of my theories, and it's not quite tinfoil hat, but it's definitely speculation. So we're pulling into the speculation train station, right? And I apologize. I know I'm occupying a lot of time. I also meant to apologize to you, Thrifty. I know as a podcast host, I know how frustrating it is to have somebody coming into the podcast late who's then having technical problems. So I apologize for that.
You're fine.
But here's my one of my theories, because we've had this whole thing about like, how is Xbox going to make money? Why does this whole thing of like making a hybrid PC that presents like the Steam store and the Epic store like make sense? Here's how it might make sense. So Xbox gives you the Asus ROG Xbox Ally / Ally X, right? They give you this new Harmony UI experience, right? Which is my own branding for the collapsing of the UI of the Xbox app that gives you transparency and visibility into all of your other launcher applications and content that you have access to, right? I typically do a better job of branding than Microsoft does, so I throw my own terms in there and labels in there. So anyway, you get this Harmony UI, right? Now, not only is it giving you visibility to your content, but my prediction is that will also be the same transparent visibility that they give to you as the digital storefront, right? On these devices, on this improved gaming experience, on this improved gaming experience-ified Windows version, right? On these handhelds, but also on like their next hybrid PC thing that may come out. So now we're talking about the digital storefront, which I've articulated is the crown jewel, right, of the current gaming market, and more so going into the next generation. Right? It is no longer about physical game sales and even necessarily hardware like SKU sales numbers and blah blah blah. It is the digital storefront, right? That is where you're planting your flag, because that's where you're trying to drive people to buy content and not have to share a 30% cut, right, with a competitor or another vendor or whatever. The new digital storefront then means that it presents games. Assassin's Creed Shadows, right, will be in a storefront, in an icon, in that Xbox app, and it will have prices listed for, here's the Windows version, here's the Steam version, here's the Epic version, right? But what I suspect is that the Windows version will somehow be prioritized, right? We have all these things in software development that we do for like, there's a term I want to use. Do you allow profanity on your show?
I have said it several times. I have said it several times.
You have to. So there's all types of stuff we do in software development that is kind of what I'll call UI fuckery, right? Which is you're trying to kind of trick and drive people to engage with certain types of content or go down a path that is beneficial for you.
Oh, sure. Fortnite got sued for
more
that.
Altruistic. Yeah, in more altruistic, business models, it's, things that are, that are good for the customer. But just like you pointed out, right, that UI is set up that way to incentivize people to grab that $30 subscription rate and to not even see the PC Game Pass one, right? So what I think this new digital storefront will do is it will have like the Xbox, like the Windows Store version at the top. It'll just align the prices horizontally, and the Xbox One will be at the top, right? Which is just like what Google was accused of, right? By prioritizing its own ancillary storefronts and services at the top of search results. Or it will align them horizontally, and it will have them all on the left, because most human beings, when they're looking at a list, right, prioritize investigating the thing all the way on the left, in America usually, or at the top. If you're I think in Asian-speaking countries and maybe in Arabic, I think the first words are on the right. I'm not absolutely sure, but it will be like that. And or the Windows price will be highlighted in green, right? The Steam one will be gray. The Epic Store one will be blue. But whatever the color palette is, right? The Windows one will be the brightest color, right? Even if it's only by like microns of shades, right, that are detectable to the human eye, the Xbox One will be some preferred color shade, right? Or they'll put the discount price next to it, right? And since lots of people will be Game Pass subscribers, it will have that Game Pass discount price next to it. Not to mention that they will also have visibility into all the other stores' prices, so they can do things like deliberately undercut. So these are the ways that I think, because what will happen is people who are using that UI who aren't actually in the Steam app or the Epic app, I think what they're going to bank on is that, hey, just by virtue of the fact that you're in the Xbox app, we can do things to incentivize you to wind up buying the Xbox Windows Store version, because you've kind of already voted that you don't care, right? If you really cared, you would buy them in the Steam app. You would do something exclusive, right, through that access pathway. So this is my suspicion of how they're going to make this thing more viable for them, is that what they're actually doing is they're actually setting a honeypot for people who would normally buy from Steam and would normally buy from Epic in this UI, and then the way they're going to pull people in is they're just going to have them fall to the tyranny of the default and wind up buying the Windows Store version.
See, it's that type of shit when I look at this stuff and I'm like, all right, so everybody, because let's just call me the average person, okay? I don't look too far into certain things. I see stuff as it is. I go here, I look at the website, I see this, and all of a sudden I'm now sucked into this shit for $30 a month. Now, the one good thing is they don't offer any kind of deals or breaks. So after one of my smarter friends points out, hey, listen, you could be getting this crap for $16.50 if all you're doing is on PC. Cool. But the fact is they still got extra money out of me. And, Josh said that Microsoft got in trouble for something similar to this with Internet Explorer. Aggressively average. Absolutely. That is right. So, Faulkie, I'm going to stop talking for a second. Is this...
Are you ever going to do the intros or what?
Oh, shit, yes. Hey, Faulkie, thanks for coming back on. Shit. We are 58 minutes into this shit. Let's go. This is like those big YouTube channels that have like 8 hours of product placement in the first 30 minutes just to make you sit there, wait through it so they can get their money. Except we don't have product placement or money. But all right, Faulkie, how are you, sir? What have you been playing lately?
I am quite well, thank you. I am trying to wrap up the platinum for Death Stranding. I've been putting a few hours into it whilst I've had some holiday time, and then if all goes to plan, I might be playing a certain game this weekend that launches tomorrow.
No shit. Faulkie, playing a game on day one release? Who are you?
Now, I didn't pay for it, though.
And there's the Faulkie we know and love here at the Gaming Den. That's right. That's awesome.
But yeah, no, other than that, yeah, I was actually spending a fair bit of time off social media and away from all the bits and pieces that go with it. Spending a lot of time with my family and out and about doing stuff around the house the last week and a half that I've had some holidays from work. So that's been good.
So your friend Josh Ayers said, hey, if it's Ghost, it's out today. So he's just letting you know that it's out today.
There you go.
Because y'all get the future shit, and I have to wait until tomorrow. I'm so mad, dude. So I went from happy to mad because I figured out that, okay, cool, they're getting it a day early, no big deal. They'll be able to play it tomorrow. I get to play it Friday. GameStop calls me and says, hey, the game is here. It's in. Be ready for pickup tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow is my Thursday. I said, dude, do you mean Friday? No, he goes, no, it releases tomorrow. And I was like, no, I thought it releases the 3rd, right? And he was like, no, it releases the 2nd. And so I got real sad and real happy and then real sad again because then I realized that Josh's ass gets to play it now and I still have to wait an extra day to get it. This is bullshit. This is so bullshit. But no. So
Thrifty, just to interject on again, you're throwing out some choice nuggets, so I just want to add some zingers while you're on it. Exactly. Ghost of Yotei launches tomorrow.
Yes.
In what world do PR and marketing not seize on the notion that the best time to announce this wackadoodle upgrade, as they've coined it today, would have been tomorrow at like 5 p.m. on the East Coast? Right, during high commute time, so that like a huge population of people who are focused on getting home to play Yotei are just commuting in the car and can't pay attention, like would just be knocked off the off the gaming field for even paying attention to any of this crap today. You knuckleheads make this announcement before lunch, right, or over lunch on a Wednesday. Like when by the way, not just us, but most of like the professional gaming podcasts, right? They tend not to happen on Monday or Tuesday of the week. They tend to all be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
Right. So you just served up a silver platter of content for people to trash your brand for an entire week.
So you weren't here at the my kind of introduction before Faulkie kind of did what you did and was like, hey, I gotta jump in, but like. In the introduction, I made the statement that like tonight was going to be a really kind of chill night. We're going to talk about Ghost of Yotei. We're going to talk about a little bit about EA, about the new studio with Ubisoft, all that stuff. I found a cool little article about a Peter Pan game. I love Peter Pan, so I'm excited about that. It's not going to come out for like 17 years, but it's still cool to know that it's actually being floated out there in the ether. And then at 9:20, my Discord starts lighting the fuck up, and I'm like, what's going on? So I hop in there, and I see Game Pass prices are increasing. I just looked up to the sky and said, thank you. Because now, like, heck, I got content for days now. This is great. So definitely understand what you're saying. It's also wild that we've made the joke before here that PlayStation doesn't have to do anything and Xbox makes them look amazing all the time. All the time. PlayStation has a bad show, Xbox has a worse one. PlayStation comes out and says, hey, we're increasing the price. Xbox says, hey, we're increasing our price more. They come out and like, hey, we have these cool designs and these shells, but they're not going to fit and blah, blah, blah. And then Xbox comes out and goes, hey, guys, we give you a condom for your system. Look at us go. Like, they always do something worse than PlayStation to make PlayStation come out smelling like roses. So much so that this theory has been proven now today with Paris, the yellow chair bandit himself. Paris coming out and going, yeah, Game Pass is no longer the most the what was it the best value in gaming. Like, shit. Oh, okay. So if it's not the best value, something takes its place, right? So told you, told you, Thrifty. Hey, dude, Jez, man, if only. That's all I gotta say. Everybody should go watch the movie Holes. If only the woodpecker size. This is something that we. Oh my God, we have a thumbnail. Shout out to Warawana. I'll never forget the thumbnail that he made. It is 6 or 7 dudes lowering a casket into the ground. The casket has Xbox's logo plastered all over the damn thing, and the faces of Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, the Halo guy, the Master Chief's head, and the guy who owns the ABK guy, Bethesda, not ABK, Bethesda dude. What the hell's his name? Shit, he's the head of it. Why can't I think of his name? Who's the head of Bethesda? Anybody?
Well, I think you're talking about Todd Howard.
That's it. Thank you, Todd Howard.
Lord
Jesus.
I don't think he's technically the head.
No,
he's
I
definitely
think
the most prominent figure.
Isn't Matt Booty like the head of it? He kind of oversees that. He kind of oversees that whole shindig.
I'll be quite honest. I don't know that I ever knew who the CEO of Bethesda was. We knew Pete Hines and Todd Howard as the main publishing business speaking person and like the main creative person, but I don't think. I mean, neither one of those guys were CEO. So I don't actually know. I'll look it up while you're chatting.
I already did. It's everything's pointing to Todd Howard being the creative leader. There are several organizations, so the CEO depends on which Bethesda. Oh, okay, that's just the AI overview, but it does come in there and like it does say that it's mainly Todd Howard as the figurehead. So,
that's the studio, right?
Yes, and then ZeniMax Media was led by Robert Altman. So yeah, I don't know any of those motherfuckers, but yes, I was talking about Todd Howard. Oh, Jez with the member for 16 months. Phil told gamers today to go play Ghost of Yotei and buy a PS5. Game Pass never was the best value. When everyone stacked, Phil gave us Bleeding Edge. Hey, listen. Hey, what's up, Innate? Absolutely. Thanks for being a member for 16 months, man. Wow. I can't believe I've been doing this that long. But you have. I lost my train of thought. Continue. No, intro still. Jeez Louise. Hey, Logic, thanks for coming on. What have you been playing lately? Logic.
Yeah, sorry. I jump around so much I actually have to bring up my blog to look at what I've put in what I refer to as my gaming diary. I have been playing Fast Fusion on the Nintendo Switch 2. And then I've been doing a lot of backlog gaming, just because I'm like Dave. I'm kind of waiting in the wings for Yotei to drop. So I've actually been going back and playing a run of Diablo 3. I've never played Witch Doctor, who's really just kind of a knockoff Necromancer. But it's an interesting character, just with a power set that I've never really played around with. But that's mostly what I've been playing is Fast Fusion and Diablo 3.
Okay, so I wish you would have reached out for Diablo 3. I love Diablo 3. I didn't really like the cartoony look, but I absolutely loved the story. It was one of my it's one of my favorite stories. One of my least favorite like villain arcs, but one of my favorite stories with Cain and Leah and kind of just everything that happens with that. Really, really good and really well done story in that one. And then I'm going to hold to my guns that 4 has the absolute best villain in Lilith. I hated that. I got choice words for her. I hated her. Watching her do some of the stuff she did on screen to certain people, like, it was freaking wild. They made me hate her in Act 1. Anyways, I freaking loved the villain in Diablo 4. She was awesome.
Yeah, she's a great villain.
Okay, so I guess for me, my gaming is super short. After the show on Wednesday, I went to work on Thursday. I left Thursday night, went to MagicCon Atlanta, was in Atlanta from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get back Sunday night around 11, go to sleep, wake up, go to work a 12-hour day, come home, pass out, and then go to work yesterday, come home, pass out again. Like, my wife was folding laundry. I was resting, not even trying to go to sleep. I was resting in bed, ended up passing out, waking up at like 3:30 in the morning. And, well, now we're here. And so I have literally turned on my PlayStation once since I got back. And that is a very, like, I was real sad this morning because I was like, man, I want to get back into Trails before Ghost of Yotei comes out. I'm trying to finish up Act 1, and I'm almost there, and I want to get it done. And now I was like, cool, I get it Thursday, no big deal. I'll get Ghost of Yotei Friday. Thursday night I'll play this. This will be wonderful. Well, thankfully I don't know how to tell time or read a calendar because I'm now playing Ghost of Yotei tomorrow, and so my whole schedule's thrown off. But I haven't been able to do any gaming because I have been out of the house or trying to recoup from a weekend where I walked and ran and took stairs and like did all this shit with probably 25 pounds of weight or more attached to me. So it was a lot. It was a blast though. I have never been I've never been to a convention before for anything, any hobby. I've never been. And I got to actually see something really, really cool that I actually wanted to share with the gamers here. So let me pull this up real quick, because it's kind of a Worlds Collide thing, and I'm actually really freaking excited about it. So let me pull this up real quick, because whenever your hobbies collide, it's really fun. Like it puts a different layer into kind of what you do and like where your hobbies lie. So here it is right here. We are getting special PlayStation cards in Magic the Gathering. And they are using PlayStation IP. So like here you have Last of Us Part 1, which the card, it's Ellie the Brickmaster. So it's quite comical. We have Abby, another Ellie from Last of Us 2. You got a God of War Secret Lair here. And so we have all these cards that are coming, and everyone in my group just looked down at me and was like, bro, you see that? Like, are you getting that? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm getting it. Like, I can't not. It has Kratos and Atreus, and like, it's awesome. And there's going to be 7 of them in total. And so we don't actually... there's going to be 7 of them, then so you get Aloy, Horizon, yeah, and and Ghost of Tsushima. And so like tons of IP crossover. And so yeah, just wanted to you reminded me about that, or telling about the convention reminded me about that. Anyways, okay, so with that being said, let's put a pin in everything Xbox real quick, because we'll get back to that. I do want to talk a little bit about a follow-up story that I had for Ubisoft, because I heard getting these special cards is a nightmare. Bro, Nate, you have no freaking idea. Usually when a big one drops like this, there's about 5 of us in my group, and in my extended groups, who will reach out and go, hey, who wants them? And we'll have everybody's Cash App on hand, and we'll all be at the website, and whoever gets in first just orders enough for everybody. And we've done that twice now. Once for the Deadpool one, and then once for the Marvel one, which had Wolverine, Black Panther, Storm, and a few others. So all comic book related stuff that we've done it for. But yeah, they're a freaking nightmare. And these, because of the power of PlayStation's IP, these are going to be insane. When I was in the convention hall or in the presentation hall, and they announced it, the crowd was loud as hell. It was insane, the amount of people in there who were head over heels to see their favorite PlayStation IP on this little tiny piece of cardboard. It was really cool. But anyways, we've been following Ubisoft here at the channel. Really got into following them when all the crap happened with Shadow, or Assassin's Creed Shadows. And so I told y'all back then that I would keep up on the developing stories of it, where it would lead the company, how everything was going, the sales of it. So we've talked about a lot of Ubisoft here. And it's because Ubisoft used to be a company that I absolutely loved. If it had Ubisoft's logo on it, I was trying it. I was at least renting it for a weekend to check it out. And in recent years, it's been, if it has a Ubisoft logo, I might play the game when it comes out for free or as part of a subservice. And so I want them to get back to kind of capturing what they had and kind of capturing my attention again as a gamer. And so because of that, they've been making some moves that are kind of exciting. I'm really happy about some of the stuff they're trying, at least. And I just want to hear other people's thoughts on kind of going forward, what you think is going to happen. So this comes from Yep, this comes from Video Game Chronicles. Ubisoft Tencent-backed subsidiary starts operation today. It is named Vantage Studios. I kind of like that. Get a new Vantage. Also could be a nod to the vantage points of Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, since those are part of the main titles that they'll be working on. So I kind of like that. I think that that's a good name. And it says that they will have full creative control. 100% creative control will be with Vantage Studios for, let's see, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. And while it will remain part of the Ubisoft group, it will have full autonomy on each franchise's creative direction and business plan. Tencent holds a 25% stake in the new subsidiary and will act as an advisory role, Ubisoft told staff, with final creative and business decisions resting with Guillermo and Dorinis. I think I said that last name right. Ubisoft told staff that it was shifting towards a less centralized operating model in an attempt to give creative teams more ownership over the brands they've been working on. It claims that the new structure is based on the idea of creative houses, where teams will have greater control over their franchises and will be able to respond faster to player expectations. So, part of that sounds like what PlayStation's been doing, where they're trying to speed things up, give that pipeline a bit, and make it to where, within Insomniac, within Guerrilla, you have the ability to reach out to these other studios, to reach out to these other creative houses, so to speak, and get help, get assistance, see what they're doing. Hey, how does that implement over here? What are you doing with lighting? I know some of the Naughty Dog devs have gone out to other studios and worked with them on lighting engines and things like that, and how to produce better lighting. I know that recently we've had who was it? The Decima. I know PlayStation works really closely with Kojima using the Decima engine and how to get the most out of that. And I know, PlayStation has this kind of structure already, at least to me. So it does seem like it's going to put them in a little bit more of an agile state, or a little bit more, at least a quicker response state. Also, I do like the idea of Ubisoft big corporate not having much of a say in what the hell goes on at this level. So, with that being said, am I excited for no reason here, or could this be something really, really good? And Faulkie, I've been watching your facial expressions as I've been talking, so I'm going to go ahead and start with you first. You can have the lead on this one.
I'll start by saying it's Ubisoft, so temper your expectations. There's some positives and there's some things that won't work practically. Decentralizing creative control. We've seen one company try that with a huge amount of studios and it didn't work, and it still isn't working. You need to have some level of consistency there, so you need some central production house overseeing, get that consistency. You can't expect 30 different individuals to have the same standard at that point. What we're going to find is it sounds like they're trying to do the best of both worlds and copying to a degree what PlayStation does in the creative houses. But you need to have the right talent leading those houses, and you need to have the right mentorships, and you need to have the right oversight. But PlayStation Productions has got this massive benefit, as they seem to be the only publishing house that has got a centralized production team. It's got Rhodey and Co, Sad Kizelbash and others that work as a unit, and there's only a handful of them in that unit that just have that ability to go, this is a good idea, that's a shit idea. And more often than not, they'll hit a winner. If you decentralize that and go, everyone can just do their own thing and they can work themselves out, you end up with basically what Xbox Studios or Embracer Group ended up with. Like, all these studios just churning, burning cash and churning workers and going nowhere, and nothing gets to market. There's a massive risk. It's not like Ubisoft's got a squeaky pipeline, a brilliant pipeline to get stuff out the door anyway. They struggle to get anything that's not a mainline Ubisoft title to market if it's something slightly different. So it's great to say, yeah, we're doing this to decentralize and give back creative control and they can make their own decisions and whatnot. But unless you've got a pipeline there that facilitates that, and it's basically flagging that they have to be content with AA level or indie, top end indie level games coming out of those studios, you're never going to get AAA games that are worth anything coming out of that sort of structure, because there's no discipline and oversight on them. Trying to do it to cut costs, like, yeah, it just seems to me like it's a good theory, but in practice, yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's got more downside than upside in terms of getting stuff to us to play. But I'm sure that it's got some really, really good cost-saving initiatives built into the back end in the fine print that they didn't put in the press release.
Cost-saving initiatives? That sounds very much like corporate talk for layoffs.
Yeah, there's a whole area of people that are not required if you decentralize creative control.
That's true.
They don't have or won't have that team that looks after the consistency and approach of the quality of what's making it to market, and they'll push a lot of that workload that the publishing arm would normally do at Ubisoft back down to the studios themselves, and then say, here, you've now got to do all this if you want creative control, but you're not getting any more funding and you're not getting any extra support, so suck it up and deal with it. So again, Ubisoft being Ubisoft. But
do you think that with Tencent, I want to push back a little bit, because yes, Ubisoft is Ubisoft, and never go full Ubisoft, ever. Not anymore. I like, literally, man, I remember playing Rayman back in the day, okay? If anybody remembers that game, I first played that game on a PC at school. Like, and it was a Ubisoft game. Like, that's how far back with Ubisoft I go. I absolutely loved the Assassin's Creed series. I was head over heels for it. Even played some Rainbow Six, even though those aren't my style of games. Like, if it had a Ubisoft logo, I was at least giving it a shot. And now it's, I don't even want to, like, not Sea of Thieves. Oh shoot, the pirate one, the Singapore, Skull and Bones. It sucks that I can freaking sit there and name, like, I can name all of these attributes about a certain thing, but I can't ever get the actual name. I do that crap at work all the time. I hit everything around. I hit all the parts that are connected to a certain piece, but I can never remember the name of whatever I'm trying to talk about. Anyways, probably my ADHD. If y'all didn't know, I have that. A lot of it, by the way. So, yeah, Skull and Bones, Josh. You're a good person. Appreciate you. But, like, games from Ubisoft, to me, are always followed by a cautionary tale as of late. Like, but be careful, it could be like Far Cry 6. Be careful, it could be like Skull and Bones. Uninspired, not really fleshed out all the way. Yuck. Like, and so I am hopeful that with Tencent being at least a part of it, that they will have a little bit of say in maybe. And listen, I see a little smile you just cracked right there. It's one of those things that, yes, do I hope that Tencent is good for it? Yes. Does there a potential that a Tencent being a part of it is terrible and awful and we're just going to get more of the same? Yes. Like, the studio heads are from Ubisoft. One is the fucking owner of Ubisoft, and the other one is the head, or was the head, of Ubisoft Montreal. So, like, I get it that we're just taking some of the same people and moving them over, and Tencent put all this money into it and is trying all these new things with it, and I get that, but it does sound like we're finally getting that laser focus that it seemed like Ubisoft was lacking, because they were kind of everywhere for a little bit. Logic, what's your take on this, on the Vantage Studios?
Well, so I'm an Ubisoft stan. So
Fair enough.
We're gonna do some defending. The thing that you mentioned earlier about like the matrixing of staff and like the ability to reach out and grab, like, you know, a technical who maybe, like, you know, doesn't have a 40 hours of work to do right on one project and can spare some cycles for another. That has actually been in place at Ubisoft for a very long time. I mean, 15 years ago, I was writing about this a very innovative talent system that Ubisoft had put in place out of HR to catalog and pool in a database all of the skill sets of the available technicals, and so that, like, if you're working on an Assassin's Creed game out of Ubisoft Montreal and you need a person who needs to do lighting, and, you know, somebody has spare cycles at Red Storm in North Carolina, right? Their HR system was geared for you to find that person, know that they were, you know, short on hours and could spare cycles to work on your project, or reach out and get them assigned to your project. So that's actually been in place for a while, and it sounds like they've carried over elements of that to this new thing that they're standing up. I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know that Ubisoft needs help from Tencent from a creative aspect, right, to enable freedom. Once a project is in run at Ubisoft, I think it does fine. I know there's a lot of Sturm and Drang and a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth about, you know, the Assassin's Creed open world games, right? But where I challenge people is, I'm like, go back to those games. Those games reviewed well, and those games were commercially successful, and they continue to sell well today. there's a running dialogue in the gaming community that like everything doesn't need to be open world and open world exhaustion and blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, but like those 3 Ubisoft games, Assassin's Creed games, sold very well. So I think from that aspect they were going to be fine anyway. I personally think where Ubisoft bogs down is they bog down with governance, right? They bog down with having to come in and do program reviews with a governing body of corporate leadership and representatives at greenlight meetings who were funneling everyone to kind of do all the same thing, right? To don't do this type of character because it won't resonate, right? Don't have this plot element, right, as you're working on your design document for your next game because it's not going to resonate, right? And being very risk averse and being very formulaic. That being said, again, I would challenge people to go look at the Ubisoft portfolio, right? Look at Riders Republic, The Crew Motorfest, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, right? Yes, you have elements of like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and The Division that are kind of samey, but then you also have them doing things like Riders Republic, like I said, like The Crew Motorfest, for like Dance Dance Revolution, right? And even though those games will sometimes come out and not get very well taken to by the critical community, keep an eye on them and track them. And this is what I always say about Ubisoft. There is absolutely no reason in my mind why Riders Republic should still be getting DLC. But that game has gotten traction, engendered a community that supports it, and that loves the time that it spends in it, and Ubisoft rewards them by continuing to crank out content. Admittedly, in a way that like I'm like that can't make any commercial sense. There's a reason why there was an outcry when they were going to take The Crew offline. And that outcry wouldn't have been there if there wasn't a vibrant community behind The Crew. So Ubisoft does this thing where somehow, amazingly, I like financially, I can't even fathom how they put the numbers together. But somehow they decide that all these games should be supported, all these games should continue in development, all these games should continue to get content. All of us who were diehard Rainbow Six fans, right from the old days, looked at Rainbow Six Siege and said, that makes absolutely no sense. There's no reason for you to do that. What are you doing? Like you're taking Terrorist Hunt and like watering it down from what it was. It launches. It's not hugely popular. Ubisoft exercises the stick-to-itiveness that they have, and that game is one of the most popular, most financially viable multiplayer service games in existence today, and is rock solid and stable. Has probably the least migratory, churn-oriented type of player base, because I don't see a ton of people like falling out of Siege, right, and then going off and doing other things and then coming back. Like I feel like the people who stick with Siege. So I think the biggest shakeup they needed was decoupling from that governance framework that they existed in, and less interference from people running their greenlight meetings. And I think that creative freedom will now thrive on its own, right, if that corporate umbrella has been lifted.
And if it gets better, I will be super excited. I have not played Shadows right now. One, because I haven't had the time, but two, because it was a game that did not like. I didn't like any of the lead up to it, any of the narratives that were surrounding it on either side of. It was the Japanese appropriation. It was this. It was that. And it just became a nightmare and a mess, and I didn't like it. And I was like, you know what? I don't have time to put another game in my repertoire anyways, so I stayed away from it. Now, if somebody looks at me and goes, hey, it's actually better than Origins, which was, out of the 3 new games, was my absolute favorite. It's the only of the 3 new ones that I actually beat. Well, I say 3. There's 4 now, but it was the only one that I actually beat because it was the only one that I actually liked. I have 45 hours in Valhalla, and I never made it out of, not the first intro spot, but the second spot you go to. Never made it out of there. 45 hours in, never made it out. And so it was bloated. You could run through it if you wanted to, but the game never quite directed you to. Does that make sense? Like in Valhalla, I felt like there was always another carrot that was popping up on the map that I'd go over to explore, And people in the chat, if some of them are listening, are going to point out that's a me problem, because that's how I play a lot of open world games. As soon as a bit or a bobble or a dot pops up, I have to go over to it. And so, yeah, and Wara just said, isn't Ubisoft's share price down over 80% over the past 5 years? It is. And go ahead.
Yeah, it has plummeted by a huge amount, which is how they managed to get this whole freaking deal to work. It's a structured exit to try and make a crap load of cash on the way out. But that's a TED talk and another 4 hours and a big spreadsheet to explain it.
So we need a spreadsheet for Gamepass. We need a spreadsheet for Ubisoft.
You need a crystal ball and a clairvoyant to explain the Gamepass thing.
A crystal ball and a clairvoyant. Let's go. No, it makes me hopeful, because I want to be that guy that looks at Ubisoft and goes, hell yes, let's go. I'm here for it. Let's make it happen. Like, I want to be that person, because I do like Ubisoft. Let me rephrase that. I like what Ubisoft used to be. And when I say that, I mean, I never worried if a game was going to be good from Ubisoft before. Ever. Like, fuck it. If it had the title on it, I was there. If it had the little logo, I was in it. I was at least trying it. And so I'm hopeful that this actually happens, and it goes back to something that feels less bloated, more inspired. And this is mainly, for me, the Assassin's Creed series. Like, I absolutely love the Assassin's Creed series and hold it in such high regard that seeing what they did with it in Valhalla and Odyssey absolutely just irritated the fire out of me. Because what they did with it in Origins was amazing. Do that. And there are people who have said Shadows is very much similar, is very similar to Origins in the way it plays, the pacing, and some other things that I liked about Origins. So it has that going for it. But it's so somebody in the chat, hang on, said who is that? Josh Ayers said the Valhalla ending brought me back. Okay, so here's the problem. You have to play, not have to. A lot of folks are going to sink over 120, 140, 160 hours into that just to get to the ending. I watched the ending on YouTube and was like, yeah, that's really cool. That is really, really cool. Which is what got me excited and why I bought and played Mirage. Because I really liked the ending and I wanted to explore more of the story. And it was bringing us back to Baghdad. It was bringing us back to the Middle East. It was all in that region again, which was very reminiscent of the first one, which is when I first fell in love with Assassin's Creed, all the way back with Altair. Yes, even the missions where you have to sit down on a bench and ease your way through everything and be annoyed the whole time that if somebody spots you, you got to do all of that bullshit all over again. I loved it. And sorry, I'm reading the chat while trying to formulate a thought. It's really hard to to do both of those things. So, oh yeah, the Valhalla ending. It wasn't even the gameplay. It was the literal bloat that happened when I think you're in England when you right after your first spot. I was all over the map. I was upgrading my facilities. Everything was going well. I was having a good time. And then I found myself like, okay, this area's done. I'd go, I'd save, I'd get off, I'd come back to the game the next night, I'd pop on. I remember talking to RPG88, well, not RPG88, now Voyager88 about it. And him and I were talking about the game, and he played it, and he was excited that I was playing it, and like all of this other stuff. And we were talking, and I was like, dude, does it ever end? Like, does the chase for shit in the game ever like stop? And he was like, no, you could literally just keep doing crap the entire time and not even have to do anything, like progression wise. And I was like, okay. And it was at that moment where I was like, I'm just gonna cut my ties with it and I'm done. So I'm hoping it gets Valhalla goes on about 20 hours too long. Well, listen, there's other games that I've played that do that also. I think I mentioned it in my review of it, and if I didn't, I edited it out. But in Lost Soul Aside, that game, even though it's a little bit shorter of a title, it goes on for about 2 hours too long. And you can tell because the last few levels are like the same. It's like the same structure. You have a little platform section, you have a big arena, you fight a few things, you go to the next big arena, you fight a big boss that looks very similar to the last boss you just fought. Then you like do that 4 more times, and ta-da, that's the end of the game. The problem is getting to that point, everything looks the exact same. Well, let me rephrase that. Everything is structured the exact same, so it feels very samey. But one area will be like on a floating platform, the other one will be in an earthy platform. So like they change the environments and shit, but overall it felt very samey towards the end. And that's what happened with Valhalla for me, is Origins felt fresh, it felt new, it felt good. We were in Africa or Egypt, so yes to both of those, and it was awesome. I had such a blast going into the pyramids, finding them, doing the bounties, all of it, and it never felt like it was too much. Valhalla comes out, and let me tell you why I keep skipping over Odyssey. I absolutely hated both of the main characters in Odyssey. I hated the speech patterns. I hated the speech. The dialogue was terrible, and so I didn't make it past like 8 hours in that game. Valhalla, I actually have more experience with, and it felt like the game perpetually keeps you on the hamster wheel, and that's just not fun. I don't like. It's probably why I don't like a lot of live service titles. I don't like feeling like you're putting time in and not getting closer to the end. Like, that type of shit bothers me in gaming. It's also why roguelikes are not my favorite genre. Because it's the same thing. You put in all of this time and effort, but you're not really making significant progress to the end. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. So, does that make sense what I'm saying? Or did I just ramble on for no reason?
No, it makes sense. It's just one of those things that comes down to, again, gaming is an entertainment medium that is a completely different experience for everybody. So the stuff that some people like, things that other people don't like. There are some, broad, common things that a lot of people don't like, and that's why that you tend to not want to see them in games. But there's that, like you said before, the Ubisoft of old versus the Ubisoft of the last couple of years, and they have made some big steps to getting back towards vintage Ubisoft, but they're still a long way off it. And to be fair, a lot of the big publishers have tried to go back to what made them the household names, and they just can't get there. It's different landscape, different economics, different requirements. They're not a small upstart anymore. They're a big giant leading the industry. So, what you're saying makes sense. It's certainly not a unique in most circumstances, because I've heard other people say almost exactly the same thing you just spoke about.
Okay, yeah. Never claimed to be unique. Definitely. And but that's why I asked if I was too far off, because I haven't heard a lot of people say what I said. Sure, people make the joke, Ubisoft's bloated. Okay, cool, but they never explain why they think it's bloated. Like, what is it? Go ahead.
Sorry, there's a difference between like games are bloated. That happens.
Sure.
There's a difference between games that are bloated by choice and games that are bloated on purpose. If you've got a game where you can mainline it and you're done in 20 hours, 30 hours, something like that, and you don't have to chase the side quests and you don't have to do any of the bloat stuff, and you do the bloat stuff and it becomes an 80 or 100 hour game, it's your choice.
Sure.
Highly your choice. If you have a game where you have to do the additional side quests and all that bloated stuff to be able to finish it, and it takes you 70 or 80 hours, that's different. That is a decision made that is detracting from enjoyment of people enjoying that game, and that's where I take an issue with people saying that bloat's an issue. Like The Witcher 3 is a great example. The Witcher 3, you could spend 200 plus hours in that thing trying to do all the side quests and do all the stuff, but you don't have to do them all. You can mainline that thing in 30 hours. It's really up to how much you want to get out of it. But, you look at how much the effort they put in to make that thing. But, and a lot of people complain about Ubisoft's games being bloated, and, Valhalla, you can mainline that thing. You don't have to do all the bloat. So it's probably, look at this, I'm flipping over to logic side on this. It's probably it's a bit disingenuous to come out and say that all Ubisoft games are bloated, therefore they're no good. Or that, Assassin's Creed's just games that are full of bloat. You don't have to do all that side stuff. You don't have to do it. Some of the Tom Clancy games, the Rainbow Six games and all that sort of stuff, you can get them and have a good time with them. You don't have to do all that side questy stuff, or you don't have to do all the additional stuff that's in them. You can just get the game and mainline it. It's, it's not, The Crew and what's that other game they've got that you were talking about before? The pirate one.
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. That everyone complains. I'd say everyone. A lot of people complain about Skull and Bones just being, it's full of microtransactions, it's full of crap, it's full of this, it's full of that. My young fella's got that game through the subscription, and all he does is drive around and shoot the shit out of other ships. That's all he wants to do. He has an absolute ball at it. He's not spent a cent on that game, and he's having an absolute ball with that game. Great. It's not full of bloat. It's not full of rubbish. He's having a blast playing it. That's what you want, enjoyment.
And that's another example of in a thing that is crazy and wackadoodle to me in my effort to put the finances together, whereby that thing makes sense. That game continues to be supported. That they shut XDefiant down. And then they doubled down on putting the support behind Skull and Bones. It's just, it's insane, but I love them for it, That's a paid game, by the way. I mean, you can get it via the subscription service, but I mean, it's not free to play.
So, that's a paid game. I love them for it. Oh,
well,
man.
I mean, from a business sense, right? I love the moxie. I love the, and yes, their stock price is down, and they've got tons of controversy about it. But it's just, it's a quirky case study for me to see them punching and kicking and still fighting, and look, we're looking at Xbox now, basically folding up shop and throwing in the towel, and saying, this whole pro-consumer, I'm your friend tactic, right? Fuck it. Let's just charge them more now, and in the meantime, Ubisoft is continuing to fight the fight that it fights. It may not be a good fight, it may not be a well-fought fight, but it's the fight that they fight. They're riding out on the horse that they rode in on, and there's something to be said for that, I think.
Listen, there is something to be said that they didn't sell to Microsoft. They didn't sell to PlayStation. They didn't sell to probably any of the number of suitors that were out there who were rumored to be purchasing them. They are trying to fix this. That's why...
They sold it to Tencent. you talking about?
Only 25%.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll
here's the deal.
see.
There's a reason why I follow this story, and it's because I want them to be good. I want them to get back to when I see one of their games, I go, yeah, I have to play that like today, now, right, like this second. And I'm hoping this is where it
Ubisoft
gets.
stands.
Yeah, I used to be
I
one.
wish I wish I had the amount of hope that you two have.
Well, let me ask you guys, because I may have a skewed perception of this. When it comes to Xbox, right, as a comparative, which I think is fair because Xbox is a third-party publisher to compare Xbox to Ubisoft. But at any rate,
The comparisons have been made on the show. You're good to go.
when it comes to Xbox, I hear a lot of this. You know, if Xbox goes out of business, gaming will be okay. Like, they haven't contributed. They've done nothing but drag the industry down. You know, it's been nothing but bad. It's their fans are just fans that are slouching towards Bethlehem, and you know, nothing good has ever come out of Nazareth, right?
Good quote.
I
Go ahead.
I could be wrong. I feel like I don't hear that about Ubisoft. Like, I don't hear the hate. Like, I don't hear, like, you hear criticism, but you know, and what you hear is, you know, like disappointment that like things that people want from Ubisoft haven't come out, like the Splinter Cell, right, reboot or remake or whatever, or like a Prince of Persia thing. But like, I feel like I don't hear down with Ubisoft. I hope they go out of business. They do nothing but drag the industry down. We don't like them. Like, I feel like I don't hear that same sentiment. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And you won't hear that from me. I have spent so much time with Ezio, Altair, Jacob, Evie. Like, these characters mean something to me. That franchise means something to me as a game. And I know it sounds stupid. It's a gaming franchise. It shouldn't have that big of an impact. Blah, blah, blah. Don't take it so seriously. You shouldn't get too attached to games. It's stupid. It's an inanimate object. Whatever people want to say. I have a very real attachment to the Assassin's Creed series. Like, I fell in love, including the real world stuff that apparently 95% of everybody hated, which is why it's not in the games as much anymore. Like, I love it. Which is why when I see, hey, Tencent is looking to branch off, they're not going to spread themselves out, they're looking to focus heavily on these 3 game franchises using this studio over here that they're creating with Tencent, it genuinely excites me. And that's because Ubisoft has a following where we remember, average gamers 30, 35, 25, we remember a time when Ubisoft was great. And we want that again. And so because of that, we see moves, and I look at it, and even though I've been a critic, I go, ooh, this could be the turning point. Is this the turning point? So think about it in the wrestling terms. You see your favorite wrestler, he gets up there, he's on the top, he does all this stuff, he's great, he holds the belt for a while, and then he falls. And something happens, he gets injured, whatnot, comes back, and now he has to work his way back up through it, but they're putting him on all these like little C card matches, you know, these little matches that don't really matter. They got him on WWE Heat, they don't have him on any of the main roster yet, and then all of a sudden you see him come back at one point, and he's going against, I don't know, fuck it, The Undertaker, whatever. And you're like, dude, is this guy back? Are we finally here? And that's the same feeling I get here. Like, is this finally the thing that brings a lot of us older Ubisoft fans back in? And so I think that's why you see that more with Ubisoft, is because they have that pedigree. And I think it's the same reason why folks were not near as hard on CD Projekt Red for the blunder and clusterfuck that was Cyberpunk 2077's release. Because there's a pedigree there, there's a following there, and there's a trust there between the player and the game, or the gamer and the studio. That they're going to make it right. They're going to do what they need to. That they're not just going to ship it and leave. And so they gave him the benefit of the doubt, and what happened? A year later, finally, Cyberpunk 2077 was fixed on most platforms. I think all platforms after a year it was fixed. They released this DLC, everything goes great, and boom, we're all back to saying, give me Witcher 4. Like, it's because we wanted to see the good news. And so I think that's what you have with Ubisoft. People like to critique them, including myself. But if they looked at me and said, hey, we're going to release a game that is going to have kind of the feel of, and not just say it for marketing, but kind of the feel of the old school titles, it's going to be a little less bloated, a little more streamlined. And by the way, just as some good flavor, we are going to bring back in about an hour and a half to 2 hours of real world gameplay. Like real world, when I say that I'm doing air quotes, real world in-game gameplay. In other words, they bring you back into the future or the present timeline. Like, cool. Thank you. I'm there day one. You don't even have to tell me what the game is or where we're at. I don't care. Because you have now given me the things and you've given me what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a little less bloat, a little more streamline, and some more of the real world stuff. And so I think the hope and the pedigree. I think the pedigree is the reason for the hope, because they're not too far off. They're not. It's not like they're just releasing piles of steaming crap. They're not too far off. It's just I want a little bit more. And so, anyways, that's Centurion for God. What's up, dude? Welcome. I've never seen that name in here before. So yeah, that's kind of my reasoning. Faulkie, what about you?
About me.
He asked what we think about Ubisoft not really getting kind of the critique hammer as much. And most people talk about it in a positive light and all that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think they've been flogged pretty hard in the past. Look, when you've hit the bottom and you're trying to come back up, and you can see the steps they're making to try and do stuff and get back towards something, they're making steps in a positive direction. You don't want to be crapping on them for that. Whereas there's others that get absolutely belted left, right, and center because they've hit the bottom and they're still trying to dig. So I don't know if there's Ubisoft's got a lot going on. The share price thing and the changes here and the changes there and the 10 cents involvement in putting in there, and they're trying to buy it without buying it, and Eves doesn't want to give it up just yet, and all the different bits and pieces that go along with it. They've still got a decent core of titles that come out that sell well. Trying to fit this new focus piece in to leverage more out of those titles. I don't know if it necessarily will translate immediately back to an improvement. Doesn't mean that focusing on titles isn't a bad thing. That it gives them the extra funding that they needed to make that, I suppose, a leap to the new generation of game development. Well, does it mean that there's probably a burn off of some of their peripheral smaller titles that tend to do really well but don't sell a lot? Yeah, I think we're going to miss out on some of those things, but the quirkiness that was Ubisoft is no longer there. But I think that's just accepted, and that the pathway forward is fairly straight and plain for them. It's similar to Square Enix and Capcom and those guys. That they're well established. They know what works for them, and they'll just keep beating that path until they need to change or turn. I don't think there's I wouldn't say there's no criticism of them, but I don't think there's any sense in piling on when they've been piled on in the past and they're making steps towards a change. Valhalla was a good example. We were saying before, was an example of they tried to go back to something in a modern context. Did it land perfectly? No, but it certainly wasn't horrible. And the Skull and Bones thing is that they've tried to do an X Defiant. They tried to do something that competed with COD, and it was going okay, but it was just costing them way too much. And Skull and Bones seems to be the one that they picked to go with. Fair enough. Then go with that. But it's it's difficult to pile into them when they're trying. And rightly or wrongly, what comes out of these changes, and I still think it's a cost-cutting exercise rather than a focus on game development, but as the primary focus, if we get a benefit out of it that we're yet to see, well then, if it comes to fruition, then that's great. I don't see it as being a step backwards in what they're baselining. It'll just really come down to what the next step forwards will be with the technology changes that a lot of other studios are talking about doing. Because there's a bit in that we have not discussed at all regarding Ubisoft.
Okay, so that was... I think unless Logic has a response to either what I said or what you said, I think we're going to go back to kind of the meat and potatoes of tonight, because we are at the 2-hour mark now. By the way, guys, hit that...
introductions, or...
Yeah, I think we're done with the introductions now, I think. I'm not really too sure. One of the heroes said earlier when we were at the 40-minute mark and I started trying to do them, he goes, that was the most organic introduction I've ever, or intro I've ever seen on a podcast. And I was like, yeah, well, it happens. But so I do want to kind of get back into the Game Pass stuff. So, Logic, did we satisfy your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, we are going to go back to this then. So, once again, Xbox continues to fall. It continues to make PlayStation look amazing. And we have retailers that have stopped carrying it, according to Faulkie. We have retailers that aren't even getting it shipped to them. So there's not much that they can even do. Like, they don't have the option at this point. It's just, hey, suck it up, butternuts. It's what happens. You can't get it. Sorry. Have a good day. Go buy it online from Amazon. Have a nice time. And there was actually screenshots of people who were showing, I don't know if they were edited or not, but there were screenshots that were showing that, like, you couldn't even order the shit from Amazon. Like, you couldn't just get a Series X or S. It was real wild. And then you have the Game Pass stuff. So, we kind of talked about it a little bit at the beginning. Actually, we talked about it a lot at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now that we've had our time to talk about it a little bit, we gave our raw thoughts on it. Let's talk about going forward. Because I asked 4 questions, and Logic, you weren't here when I mentioned these and when I went over them. But here's the 4 things that popped into my mind within 30 minutes of the news, okay? These were from earlier today at about 10, let's see, when was it? 10:10 a.m., my time. So I have so many thoughts on this right now that need thinking. 1, does this promote console sales at all, or is this just one more step to getting rid of the console and becoming more software focused? That was the first thing that popped in my mind. Like, we have consoles being dropped from retailers. We have now I can add in that we have retailers saying they're not even getting them shipped to them, so they have no way to actually order them anymore. Like, if you're wanting Game Pass to be successful, and part of that success comes from people on console subscribing to your shit, then making it more expensive does kind of seem counterproductive in the long run to me. And so it makes my brain kind of twitch a little bit because those 2 pieces don't line up. The second thing was how many Game Pass users will stop Game Pass altogether. We've seen a couple people with Xbox leaning accounts and channels put up polls, and it's like 40% of people are saying that they're going to go ahead and just cancel. Like, that's nuts. Lunchy Sky sent me a let me see if I can't get it pulled up. That's the wrong tab. He sent me a screenshot of one of those folks. here just a second ago, but basically it was like a 40% dip of folks who were like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this. Oh, here it is. Game Pass. Make yourself the console's dead. Whoops. Maybe it wasn't Lunchi that sent it. Anyways, moral of the story is folks are canceling it. Folks are saying they're going to cancel it. The website, Wario64 put up here that the website was crashing earlier because people were trying to cancel it so quickly. Like, this is stuff that... Oh, also, these are the new prices live today. There's no lead-in. There's no, hey, it happens in a couple months. You know, one of the things that is so jarring about this is the speed in which it took place. Literally, we had a rumor this morning that it was going to happen. I wasn't even going to cover it. Several minutes later, maybe an hour, we get confirmation that, boom, it's here right now. And that to me is wild. Like, at least PlayStation shut down their Stars program, and they gave like what, an 8-month lead time on it, a 6-month lead time. Like, hey, listen, guys, we're shutting this bitch down. It's cool.
Well, just to clarify, so this is actually the same framework that they did the last price increase. So you're right that it kicks in starting today for new customers. For existing customers, correct, these price increases don't kick in until the first week of November. Correct. Which is the same way they rolled it out last time.
Which is still crazy to me. But it also is...
Yeah, I agree.
It's also like, that's still a real quick, like, hey, we're here, it's now.
But that's also because, you know, if you announced it and said these prices go into effect in 2 weeks, then there would be a gold rush for people to sign up, right, at the lower price tier, which is probably not what you want, given that you're planning on increasing prices anyway.
Yeah, and Josh said that they don't want people to stack it. And so doing it quick like this eliminates the ability for people to actually stack and get the good deal for a short amount of time. Or
that's actually a better explanation than the one I gave, yeah.
And so I get it. I mean, I bet PlayStation had quite a few people when they announced their price increase go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for a whole year real quick just so I can get the whole year.
Shit, yeah. That's where the value comes from. So, I'll give you an example about this, right? So, I'll put it in US dollars because it's easier for that. So I get my annual subscription for PS Plus top tier, and I do it with the Black Friday sales, right? So I know there's going to be a sale on the subscriptions, and it's usually somewhere between 20 and 30%. Last year gone, it was 33%. So I got 1/3 off. And because of how I access that, I go to my local EB Games and I buy PSN cards there. And because I've got memberships there, I get 5% discount. So I get the $150 Australian, and I get 5% off that. So I'm getting a benefit there straight away. So anyway, do that, get the benefits there, put them into my PSN wallet, go and buy the annual subscription for the discount, and when you convert that back to monthly, my current one, which runs out at the end of this month, or the end of November, whenever Black Friday sales are, I'm currently paying, converted at today's US dollar conversion from Australian dollars, about $6.77 a month for the top tier.
That's deluxe for y'all, isn't it?
It's deluxe.
Deluxe.
So we just can't get the PS3 streaming stuff, but everything else we get. And we get heavier discounts as a byproduct of that. So if the US gets 20%, we get 25%, stuff like that. So I'm currently sitting, deluxe tier PSN for less than $7 US a month. And that's the benefit of doing the annual subscription, because you get the built-in discount, and then you go for the sale discount, and then if you find another way to augment and get your PSN cards cheaper through EB Games or whatever, buying them discounted somewhere else, that's how you do it. You just stack the stuff up. And when I'm talking about paying 1/5 of what the new Xbox Game Pass Ultimate level is going to be, I might not get a heap of games day and date and I'm still buying games, but I'm like, I haven't paid over $10 American for a game in 6 years. I just wait till these 6 months in, they go on sale. I got Spider-Man 2018. Was it Spider-Man 2018? I got that in 2020 for like $8 before it went into the subscription service. So they have these massive discounts on the games before they chuck them in the sub-service to get people to try and buy them. I got The Last of Us Part 2 for $9 American. And then I got the free upgrades to the part. So I got The Last of Us 2 PS4 version, the $9 American. Because it was in a sale. I then got the upgrade to PS5 for free. And I got the Part 2 big upgrade for PS5 Pro thing that happened when the PC thing launched for free. So I didn't play it until start of this year or something like that. And I got all the bells and whistles and all that sort of stuff, $9 American. And there's people who complain about $70 day one. If you can't wait, you're going to pay for it. But yeah, there's ways and means of accessing this stuff. The amount of games that are out there now, you don't have to pay these stupid prices for it if you just, consider it. But that's a side story. The point I was originally making was that the sales and the discounts and the impacts that you can get from it for annualized subscriptions has a big compounding effect. If you can only get it, the ultimate tier, for $30 a month, and there's no annual option anymore, you're cooked. You're absolutely cooked.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Is like, you think that they would roll this out with some sort of yearly option at this point. Like, even if they said, hey, the yearly option is only for Ultimate, and you could do it for $300 a year, save $60, save $5 a month going to Ultimate and paying for the year. Like, even that, I still would have given them a shit ton of criticism over this move. But even that, hey, at least they're finally dipping their toe into, hey, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, y'all do realize that PlayStation has 3 different ways to pay and 3 different tiers, at least here in the US. We got Essential, Extra, Premium. You have 1 month, 3 month, and 12-month options. You can literally just have it for a month. You could say, no, I want it for 3 months. And guess what? If you get it for 3 months, you get a bit of a break. If you get it for a year, you get a bit of a break. And so because of that, it's always enticing, instead of just getting that month, get that 3 months. Get that year package. Like, because if you're already at 3 months, the other thing they do really well is if you're on like the 3 month or whatnot, and you go to like upgrade or change, it'll show you like, here's the number you have to pay in order to upgrade it to the year package. And I just, they're always trying to get you to increase it, but they're also giving you a reason to increase it, and to move up to the next tier, and to move up to the next level of commitment, which would be the goal, to get you, every single person, on premium for a year at a time, and everybody's in there. PlayStation doesn't want you monthly. They want you locked in. They don't want you as a monthly to where you can come in and do what I do. You can come in, come out, do what you kind of want, be there for a little bit, play the game that they've added into the subservice, cancel it the next month, and don't worry about it. They want the person who is locked in at, I think it's what, $18? It comes out to like $18 a month, I think, after everything is said and done, maybe like 15. And so I'm kind of the one who's bucking the system. They want people to have that year subscription. So the fact that Microsoft hasn't caught on to that yet, when they steal every other idea from Sony, like, is kind of baffling. Anyways, I talked a lot there. Faulkie, did I cut you off?
No, all good.
Okay. So Logic, what's some of your takeaway on the conversation right now about the Game Pass increase, the price increase, everything going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing to say is it'll be interesting to continue following it. I will say, and maybe this just comes from having lived through the Sega transition out. I'm not putting a poker chip down yet on the on the square that says this is Xbox imploding, and that their inevitable destruction and transition out and exit from the gaming industry is foretold. I'm not there. I think however it comes about, new leadership, changing the corporate strategy, divesting of things and focusing on other things. I think there's still going to be a gaming company that's just going to look different. What is today about? Quite honestly, I have no flipping idea. Is this a plan to eventually sunset the Game Pass service and just extract as much as possible out of people beforehand? I don't know. When Stadia shut down, it hadn't quite put its head. Google hadn't quite fully put its head as far into that sweater as to make it something catastrophic when they withdrew from it. I don't. Xbox exiting Game Pass now and still being around as a gaming company, I think would leave them entirely too liable unless they did some type of sweetheart departure deal. Like, hey, we're shutting down Game Pass and, you're allowed to keep X number of games for however many years you subscribed. You'll be given a permanent license for those or something. I don't know. I think this is just all a matter of, Xbox dorking stuff up, and then eventually it's going to have to, figure itself out, right, and fix what they've broken and continue moving forward as a gaming company. Well, admittedly, while, possibly losing market share or whatever. This move today, I usually parse these things into three parts. What do I think it will do for the business? How do I think the market will respond? And how does it affect me personally as a gamer? I'm gonna actually start at the bottom because that's probably the easiest. I had already, I unsubscribed from both subscription services last year, both PS Plus Premium and Game Pass Ultimate. I came back this year, for a few months, and I did stuff like I would dip in when I wanted to access something and then shut it down. I've recently come through the notion that just the way I buy games, it makes absolutely zero sense for me to be on a subscription service. The only reason I do it really is to be able to talk about the experience, right, as part of content creation and to be knowledgeable on, what it looks like. I've now passed the point where I don't know that anybody needs look, this is probably my last time parsing the wackadoodle Xbox tiering structure, which I've done several times now. I think Xbox has people that it pays that should be doing that, and if they can't do it, then somebody else can figure it out. But so the weird, interesting thing though is I had already made that decision that it made no sense for me to be in a subscription service and had disenrolled from Game Pass, but I still had my PS Plus subscription going as of today. But this just today reinforced for me that for me personally, the way I consume it makes no sense for me to be in a sub-service, and I went into PlayStation and actually nixed that subscription as well. Like I said, I had been planning on doing so anyway, but the shenanigans of today just was yeah, I need to shut that down now. And get out of all this craziness of subscription services. What do I think this will do for the business? I think so. I think for the business, here's what I believe. I believe that a bunch of bean counters and financial types got in a room and sorted this out from Amy Hood's organization, and I believe she got the analysis of what this thing should look like, and I believe she told Xbox this is what it needs to look like.
Mm.
So I feel like this relationship, and yes, I'm in speculation land. I feel like this relationship, this contention between the GLT and Amy Hood has been going on for a very long time. And I think we've seen the heaves and throws of that and what's gone on and how they've lost control. And I think there was a point. So the legacy has been Amy, Satya, and Phil, right, in the GLT get into a room, and Amy is told, hey, we're going to turn the corner on this thing next year, right? Or, hey, all you have to do is buy these 6 studios. All you have to do is buy Bethesda. All we need to do is buy Activision. We just need to outspend Sony, right? She's been told all of these, I'll just call them lies. She's been told all of these things for years, right? Because she comes to power like only months before Phil Spencer is installed, I think, as head of Xbox Gamepass division. She comes to power, I think, in 2014. He comes to power in 2014. So theoretically, they've been kind of peers, although she's been a C-suite officer for longer than he has. So I think she's been told all these things for years that, like, they know the gaming industry. She doesn't know the gaming industry. They need to, she just needs to trust them that they know what they're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And I think in recent years, as in the last year or so, as Satya has said, hey, I would invest big in AI, Amy has said, yeah, I'm not going to concur with that when we go to a board meeting. Because remember, when they go to board meetings, it's not CEO to CFO. When they go to board meetings, they are each board members, and she can speak her mind as a board member, right? So they go to board meetings, and she says, I don't agree that we should, if we want to go AI, that's fine, but we need to not go AI while we're continuing to let Xbox get away with an accountability margin, right? And not actually make the money that they should be making while we've got all these other divisions, right, being held accountable for their businesses. So I think for a long time it was Amy was not in the driver's seat. Then I think it became, oh no, if you want money, we're not going to keep doing this, right? Then I think it became, okay, now when those 5 people get in a room, Amy, Satya, GLT, the voice track is Amy says, I don't give a shit what you do. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, right? Because you assert that you know the gaming business than I do. Fine. But what you are going to do is you are going to now start hitting these metrics. And we're not going to keep having this conversation of next week, next month, next quarter, next year, right? You guys are going to hit these metrics or you're going to be held accountable. We're not going to continue investing and funneling money to you because now Azure needs money because we got to buy freaking nuclear reactors, right, to generate enough power to run AI. Right, so that money isn't coming to you guys. Those investment dollars are going somewhere else. We spent $70 billion on you guys. We're done. Now you guys need to hit these markers, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Now, what we saw today, I'm convinced it is now, okay, I gave you guys the freedom to drive your own destiny and hit these markers without me micromanaging you. I think today what we saw is the finance department is now going to micromanage you and tell you what it is you need to do because you guys have proven that you can't hit these markers when you're given the freedom to do so. So these whole Lego blocks of how this tier are put together does not look like a gaming decision. It looks like a bunch of finance guys got in a room and decided how all this stuff should work.
So,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I went on for a while.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm going to dovetail and then give it right back. So because you said it doesn't look like a gaming decision, and I would 1,000% agree. Okay? Don't remember who it was. Somebody sent a clip in the Discord. I don't remember who the heck did it or who I was watching. But they had mentioned that because the tier system also comes with shorter wait times at Ultimate. Okay? I mean, it's right here in the article, so...
Yep.
Let me come back right over here. Cloud gaming is also getting a major boost. Ultimate subscribers enjoy... I'm right here, by the way. Ultimate subscribers exclusively enjoy the best quality streaming and shortest wait times, so it's easier than ever to jump into your favorite games. Xbox Cloud Gaming has also officially exited beta as part of our commitment to make gameplay smoother and more responsive. We will continue to keep expanding the stream, your game... And we'll keep expanding the stream, your own game collection for all subscribers. Okay, they missed a word there. We'll keep expanding the stream for your own game collection for all subscribers. There we go. I'll help you out. Keep an eye on xbox.com/play for the latest blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this, when whoever I was watching, it might have been Maddie. I think it might have been Maddie. He said it sounds like a mobile strategy. And it sounds like a cell phone plan is what he said. And I was like, huh, interesting you say that. Sarah Bond happens to be an ex-T-Mobile head. So, restricting speeds is something that she would be used to. As a matter of fact, she was the one who implemented that at T-Mobile to get people. She was the one who made it to where you could have the different tiers where you could have unlimited, you could do this, you could do that, and depending on which tier you had, your streaming quality was better. Because her big thing was figuring out how to get streaming onto cell phones and the data consumption and all of that, if I understand correctly. And so...
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and so this feels... Well, as soon as Maddie said that... Thanks, Josh. As soon as Maddie said that, my brain went to, oh, no shit. This makes total sense why they did this now. Because somebody in leadership, Sarah Bond, has experience with this type of structure. And so, go ahead. I'll let you continue your thought now.
Yeah, so in this case, it's not throttling speeds, it's queue wait time. So, like,
Correct.
You go to request to play a game, and you're given some timer that tells you, or, like, you're told what spot you are in line to become next to stream. So, yeah, I think there's an analog, not quite the same thing. I will also say, remember, we've heard kind of smart carrier or smartphone-oriented strategies from Xbox before, when there was a notion that was how they were going to approach hardware, right? When there was a momentary voice track that, hey, we're not going to do, we're not going to strictly do generations. Things are going to become more PC-like. Every couple of years there will be, the Xbox Series at one point, there was like I said, there was a momentary voice track that, like, there's nothing that says the Series X and the Series S would be the only series, right? You could get I always used to say a Series Y. You could have gotten a Series Y in 2022 that would have just been a slight spec bump right from the Series X. Now, they never went down that path, but I can see how in a boardroom that may have come from her by being oriented around that strategy. What I will say is, going back to like the theory that like this feels like a bunch of finance people got in a room and told them what it needed to look like. That, to me, is an example of where there are these arbitrary things that are completely unnecessary that are put in place to create this faux framework of tiers, right? I don't believe that there's any impact on Azure capacity and backbone at a global scale where people are consuming from Game Pass Xbox Cloud Gaming so much that there's any need for tiers, right? The reason, at least the start of the reason for throttling speeds on the network, was because there's a customer level impact to too many people consuming too much bandwidth, right? So you control that, and you control people's quality of service and the speeds they're being delivered by throttling lower tier customers. There's absolutely no need to do that on Xbox. And in particular, the thing that to me is, again, wackadoodle about that is, way back when Xbox was in beta, right? Because we call Xbox Cloud Gaming beta, but it's really been like, what I call beta, and then beta. When Stadia was going to market as a full-time service, and it was Xbox Cloud Gaming as a beta, there were queues, right? Because you would sign up for Xbox Cloud Gaming, and even if you had one account, you couldn't just subscribe to a tier and get it. You would have to. There was a site you would go to and you would request it, and you would request it for Android or iOS separately, even if it was for your same account. And then when that was your access pathway to Xbox Cloud Gaming, there were queues. Now, when it got rolled out as beta and it was only available via the Ultimate tier, there were almost never queues. It was not an automatic thing that you went into a queue. There would only be queues if there was actually some like weird high demand thing regionally right in your specific Azure zone, which I never saw. So the entire time I had access to Xbox Cloud Gaming on Ultimate, there were never tiers. So this is reinstituting tiers in an entirely arbitrary manner that is completely unnecessary, right? Again, to create this faux feeling that there are tiers when there don't need to be tiers, right? They've put things in tiers that don't need to be. They've created this goofy, like, if you're on Essential, you get 50 games. If you're on Premium, you get 200 games. If you're on Ultimate, you get 500 games, right? And who knows what the governance and differentiation is between like what bundle of titles you get access to on what tiers. So this to me sounds like people came in and they said there has to be this type of structure, so let's just make up a bunch of reasons, right, why these structures would make sense. That's where I get to my belief that like I don't feel like this was a thing like driven by the GLT. This was dictated to them. My last piece is, and I think based on that math work of like a finance person and a gaming person sitting in a room and making all this stuff up, I think the finance guys have convinced themselves that given their numbers, at least at current state, in some short range distance of projections, that this is going to generate more revenue for them. Before like churn really has an impact, right? And people really exit the service. Or whatever number of people that they projected were going to exited the service. I also think a lot of the social, and so let's talk about how the market will respond. I believe that a lot of the wailing and gnashing of teeth on social media is not genuine. I think a lot of people are running around saying that they were going to unsubscribe today, but they haven't really unsubscribed today. Or maybe they stopped their automatic renewal today, but they'll go back in and turn it back on. Right? Or maybe they just moved down a tier. I don't think all of that is genuine. Because people are signed into this thing for a convenience factor, right? And until or unless there's something more convenient that gives them the same access that they're looking for, I just don't believe that in a large groundswell, right? There's this huge offloading that happened today. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but long term, how is the market going to respond? I think part of that is dependent upon competition, right? That envelops throughout the rest of the year. So I think people are going to be looking more at Nintendo and looking more at PlayStation and seeing what content is available. I think people are going to start doing the calculus over the next month or two about, hey, if I go back to buying games, right, what's really the delta on this? Am I really using all this stuff? So I think longer term, people are going to make decisions over like the 2 or 3 month time period. Right. The other thing is we're in the holiday season, right? And I think, and I could be wrong again, that consumers don't make tons of like decisions right now about statutory spending, right? Things that are part of your recurring bill set. Because I think most consumers right now are looking for predictability in going into the holiday season, right? They want to set their budgets. They want to know, what they're gonna expend, and then generally most of us like turn the corner into the next year, and then we do a big reset. Then we sit down and look at bills. Then we sit down and say, hey, what can I cut? What am I not going to keep? So that's my belief. So I believe there will be a siphoning off of Game Pass subscriber numbers. I think there's going to be a huge amount of churn. I don't think that happened today. I think it's going to play out over the next 3 months. But I also think, it's an opportunity, but it's also an opportunity to fumble, right? If PlayStation and Nintendo don't do things to convince people that there is a better place for them to be other than sitting in Game Pass, I don't necessarily know that the impact of that churn and that siphoning off is going to be as big as we might think it's going to be.
So I am I'm a little different. I look at cost analysis first. It's why I got rid of premium when I did, which was last year at some point, I believe. It's also why I kind of rubber band back and forth between extra and essential or nothing. Because I've gotten to the point on sub-services where you have to give me a reason to keep you. And if your reasons are not fulfilling a need that I have in that moment, I will absolutely just shut you down. Like, we don't have Disney Plus because we don't watch enough stuff on Disney. We have Paramount Plus because that has all the Nickelodeon shows on it, and I'm okay with my kids watching a lot of those Nickelodeon shows, or How to Train Your Dragon, or what have you. It fulfills that. It fulfills that slot. And so going into the holidays, we actually kind of redo our yearly budget in October almost. Because we're going into the holidays, we have travel coming up, we have more outgoing expenses coming up, and so we're looking to make sure we're doing the best with what we have. And so I'm actually getting into the season where my wife actually we were talking yesterday on my way home from work. She was like, hey, we need to have a budget date night pretty soon to go over everything and get everything kind of set up for the next several months. And I was like, you know what? You're right. We haven't done that in a while. Let's go ahead and get it because that's this time of year for us. And so I'm subscribed to the PlayStation service because it's not subscribed. Okay, that makes more sense. Sorry, Centurion, that makes a lot more sense now, what you said. I would love for you to explain why, though. Because coming in here and making grandiose statements like that, that's great. But if you can't explain why, then cool. You get to have your little moment in the chat there. But yeah, Morawana said, logic is so right. These dudes don't like change. They enjoy being told what to play. The frogs are fully boiled now. MS is eating good. That's...
Yeah, and I would say not to even qualify it as pushback, but I would just say alternate perspective. When I'm talking about right, thinking about the person who has been subscribed to Game Pass for potentially as much as 8 years, and now what they're faced with. Not saying it made sense, not saying it was smart. First of all, they've been conditioned and incentivized, and PlayStation does this too, but they've been conditioned and incentivized to think of those titles in Game Pass as part of their digital library. Right? A huge amount of disdain that I have is when you go into both the Xbox operating system menu, right, and the PlayStation menu, you can go into slices that present all of your PlayStation Plus and Game Pass and games with Gold. They present all of those titles as if they are part of a synonymous, ubiquitous library. That is your entire catalog that you have access to. And then they put little icons in them, right? If they're subscription titles and you're not subscribed right now, or maybe they put them there all the time. But I'm like, no, I don't want to see that. Like I want to see a thing that shows me everything that I've bought. I don't want to see the subscription stuff. I just want to see where I buy. But like if you're a Game Pass subscriber, more intensely, you've looked at that as your entire library. And so now the choice you're being presented with, and I actually wrote this up during the podcast, now the choice you're being presented with is, hey, you've paid literally thousands of dollars at this point, right? And if you don't agree to pay $10 more, because what I wrote up is that this is essentially what the mob does to you, right? You're going to need sanitation service. Well, I don't need my garbage taken away. Well, you think you need your garbage taken away, but you're going to want protection, right? The notion is if you don't pay me an extra $120 a month at this point, you're going to lose access, right, to everything that you had access to. Now, for some consumers, they're going to say, well, I already played those games. But as we know from the metrics that you just talked about, most of them haven't played those games, and most of them have not played those games to completion. So yanking those games away absolutely has an opportunity cost associated with it. You got Centurion, a God who's been going on in the chat here for like an hour, still yammering about how great a value Game Pass is.
Yeah, because it has more content than PlayStation.
Yeah, and so the choice that those people are faced with, and I'm only talking about the people who are already in the service, right? I think that there is going to be a knock on. You're probably not going to have as many people onboarding into the service as you might have had, right? But for people who are in the service now, what is their digital library, right? And what choice are they faced with? Am I not going to pay the extra $10 a month, which is basically a game and a half, or am I going to go back to buying games? So I think that's a tough choice they're presented with. That convinces me that a lot of them are going to stay in the service. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, no, and I'm just gonna give a little quote. We missed the mark in the most important generation, which was last year's which was the last generation where people built their digital libraries. That's a direct quote from, or almost a direct
Phil
quote
Spencer.
from Phil Spencer.
Yeah, but
S-
but but how did he compensate for that? He
Exact.
compensated for that by giving people an instantaneous one that they got
Yep.
the first time they paid their first $10 a month,
And
and
boom.
that is what has burrowed and weaseled its way into the brains of those consumers now.
There's a
So
different.
go ahead, Faulkie.
There's a differing. Sorry, it's. I'm going to put a third point on this. So we're talking this like a triangle perspective. So I agree with both your sentiments. There's the other thing to just remember here is they've got the consumer by the short and curlies here, big time. Because what's their alternative? Stop paying it and lose access. And that means that the console, what have they got to play on it? Only what they've bought, or they're going to have to reinvest a heap more money, or they're going to have to do something. So either they're going to pay for the service at some level, or they're going to pay and buy the games because they're already got a digital library and all that sort of stuff. Now, if people have got new into the service and got a Xbox Series S or X or whatever they've got, and they've only ever had Game Pass and they've not bought any games, they're right up the creek. But that's what they're hoping for, that these people just accept it, find a way to pay for it and move on. And that the revenue just flatlines or smooths itself out and coming in every month. Now, they might not go for the full $30 a month. They might come down to the bottom tier, whatever that works out to be. But they've got them over a barrel because they've got them either hooked in where they don't own anything and they've effectively got an access point that's worth nothing without the service, or they're going to have to buy the games to continue to play them if they don't want to pay the subscription fee. Because it's a very big reality that is the circumstance. Because what's the alternative? They dump their Xbox, which they wouldn't trade in because it's not worth anything at the moment, to go and jump on with PlayStation and jump into that ecosystem. That might actually be what happens to a small number of consumers at the moment, where they go, well, the other side's giving me better benefits for cheaper outcome. I'll just switch over to them because I see a pathway forward with that console. Or we jump over and grab a PC and off we go down that pathway. They're going to milk really hard their core supporter base that are effectively can't afford to get out of it, and they'll just find a way to keep paying for it. Because, like you're saying before, there'll be some churn, there'll be some that cancel, there'll be some that come on. But that's because the number has stopped growing. They haven't got growth in the subscription base. And it's certainly not at a growth at a level that they needed it to. So when you've got no growth to supplement that, growth in the subscription side, so your total revenue is number of users multiplied by dollars per user. Well, if the number of users isn't growing and the dollars per user is stagnant, it's going to flatline, and they still need the growth because they've got to grow this thing. It costs more money to produce this thing every year. So now they're saying, right, well, if we know we've flatlined over here, we'll crank the dollar amount up and we can absorb, say, a 10 or 15% loss in subscription numbers over here and still come out ahead at the end. And that's the financial mechanisms that they talk about in these discussions. Like, well, how much can we afford to burn? And are we going to burn 10 or 15% of people who are actually paying? Or are we going to burn 10 or 15% of core users who've not paid a cent to us since they stacked $101 deals or $51 deals for a year? Like, there's that part of it as well to consider. If they're saying our current user base who don't want to spend money with us, that we condition not to spend money with us, are just not spending any money with us, we don't actually need those people. We don't want those people because they're not giving us anything. We want people who want to pay us money. It's pretty clear that when they moved the stuff over to PlayStation, that people were prepared to pay for it. Well, that's the sort of people that they need to make this thing survive. People need to pay for this service, or they need to pay for the games or something. But the end result here, and it's not in a disagreement with the points that both of you gentlemen have made, but it's that a lot of people are going to look at it and go, I actually have no choice. if I want to continue with the setup that I've got, that I've become accustomed to, that I'm comfortable with, all my mates are on, or my friends are on this. This is what I'm, comfortable with. I've now got to find that $5 or $6 a month, and that's 2 cups of coffee a month. And when you put it in that perspective, it doesn't sound that bad. But when you look at it as, money spent over an entire year, the top tier and what you get out of it and how it locks people in, Xbox has not been spruiking about the big play everything day one. We're going to bring this, we're going to bring that, we're going to do all this sort of stuff. Game Pass is the future of gaming, blah, blah. They haven't been spruiking that anywhere near as hard as they used to. And people say, oh, why does Game Pass get hated so much? It's because Xbox themselves thumped themselves on the chest and said, hey, we're going to lead this industry forward with this revolutionary new idea. And yeah, you're right. When Bill came out and said we lost the generation that was the worst one to lose because of the digital conversion to digital libraries, so I'll just give you a library and charge you money for it. That's a great way to hook people, but that's also a great way to hook people and say, here, you just keep paying me and I'll keep giving you the games that I think you want.
Mm.
And if you haven't paid money to buy them, I mean, people argue about digital versus physical all the time and who actually owns a game, who doesn't. You don't own, even if you don't own the digital license to access the game. If it goes out of the service, bye-bye. So I don't think it's consumer friendly at all, because it's going to lock a lot of people in to basically force them to pay more because they have no choice. They can't shift now. It's not like the good old days we were talking about before, where if you got the shits with one, you can just go and trade it in a GameStop or EB Games or something and switch to the other side, go through the bargain bin or the pre-owned section and pick up a heap of great games at $5 or $10 because they were pre-owned. Can't do that anymore.
God, no, you can't.
So the whole digital ecosystems ensures that these sort of price gouging can occur and can occur frequently. This isn't the last time they're going to raise the price here. They'll hit us. They'll hit it again, because look at the reasoning they gave. The reasoning was, we listen to the feedback. That's a load of bullshit. Listen to the feedback. People want more. This is what we're going to do, and this is what it's going to cost for you to access it. Bang, and it's happening really quickly. They not once have they mentioned anything in any of their press release information, their video or anything like that, talks about pressures from inflation, pressures from economy, or pressures from delivery of services. They just said this is all based on the feedback as we're going to be. 6 months time, you watch. In 6 months time, they'll be talking about another price rise, and it'll be because of economic factors.
Don't you
They'll
love
have
that?
done this. They'll have done this. They'll have the bottom fall out, like the losses out of the subscription that they were expecting, and probably more. They will have the handheld PC stuff will hit and flop because no one's going to pay that money for it. They've got a stalled pace of Game Pass growth on the consoles. They've got a stalled console selling point. They've got an issue with their PC growth now. That's becoming evident in their numbers because it's stopped being the main growth talking point. They've got all these other issues with ABK still costing them more than it's making. And then you've got some other factors around going multi-platform that they're having issues with their studios. It's going to cost them some money. It's going to cost them some big money to keep going forward. And this whole notion of trying to tie it in with this is what the consumer wants. Well, the consumer wants what you promised they were going to get for $15 a month, not $30 a month. And that's the piece that's going to cause, and like they say, online is maybe 2% of the whole gaming population exists online, and maybe 0.5% of that population bitches and moans and complains and bleeds Team Green.
Sure.
If they're mad, if one person's mad about it, there's 10 others that are mad, they're just not saying it. Stats. That's been the circumstance for the better part of 100 years. But what people won't swallow is those that aren't necessarily online, they're just a general consumer. If they look at something and it goes, why are we now going to pay $30 for something that 5 years ago they promised me I would get for $15 a month, and now it's $30 a month, and they can't tell me anything more than we promise we'll give you 75 plus new games day and date. but they can't give me any details. How the hell do they know I'm going to get 75 games, brand new games, day and date? Like, their level of trust that has been burnt and broken, and they're repeating the same shit that they've been saying time and time and time again. The general consumer is a lot smarter than what Microsoft gives them credit for, and it's going to burn them hard.
So, when you have GameStop coming out trolling your ass, not once, not twice, but 3 full times, and making sense, that's when you know you fucked up. Like, I saw you mouthing yep up there. Like, and listen, Centurion, listen, you're like an Xbox unicorn then, okay? Kudos to you for buying most of your games, being in the subservice. Good job. None of us on here have, I don't think at any point in time have we compared the two services. We could talk about now the premium Xbox tier versus the middle versus PlayStation Extra. We could talk about that. We could talk about the games offered and how there's a larger catalog on PlayStation than on the premium tier. We could talk about how neither service is getting Call of Duty day and date in the premium tier and of Xbox Game Pass, or the extra tier, which is the middle tier of PlayStation Plus. Yeah, there's fine print set at the bottom where it says premium subscribers get newly added fan favorites like Diablo 4 and Hogwarts Legacy starting today, and the new Xbox published games within a year of their launch. This excludes, that means it doesn't include, this excludes Call of Duty titles. So those are reserved for...
There's no guarantee that premium tier is getting Call of Duty.
Oh, no. It's saying they are not.
Right.
It's literally saying, hey, all the other games first party within 12 months, that doesn't count for Call of Duty.
Right. And just to tie a point onto the Centuria guide, like you're foolishly arguing with me, and I'm the one on the panel who has actually said, I think there will be upside to this short term for Xbox. I don't think that there will be a negative kickback from the consumer market for Xbox, and that I'm pulling out of the service. So I've actually said on 2 points upside, the two that are most significant to Xbox's business, and I've said for me personally, I'm out of Game Pass, but I've also said I'm out of PlayStation Plus. So this is the typical behavior that I see from the Xbox community, is that you guys are so virulently opposed to anyone saying anything that is not 100% positive about the characterization of the Xbox business, that you fail to recognize, because you got cotton in your ears over console warring. You fail to recognize when somebody has actually said something positive about the Xbox business. So like a knucklehead, you're arguing with me in the chat, and I'm the one person on the panel who's actually said, I don't think that this will be a big negative impact to the Xbox business. I actually think in the short term, it'll probably work out to the positive. So you can just chew on that if you have any teeth left in your mouth from talking out of both sides of it, because you've also been in the chat saying, I can divest myself from Game Pass at a moment's notice, but you've also been in here championing being a banner carrier, carrying water for the brand, saying the $10 price increase is not a big deal, and I'm going to stay in the service because it still offers a lot of value and it's better than PlayStation Plus. When, as Thrifty said, none of us has brought up the comparison between Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. I mean, so keep console warring. I hope that you feel rewarded for that for this evening.
Oh, he's being seen for the first time in a decade. He's happy as hell. Go ahead, Faulkie.
Not to, I don't disagree with any of that, but admittedly I currently don't have access to watch the chat, so, but it does raise an interesting perspective of individual versus the collective. So as an individual, as
Correct.
just been pointed out, they said they can divest at any stage of whatever, and they're fine. There's 20 million subscribers to Game Pass that may or may not share that same perspective. And that's a lot of people. And of that subset, there is potential for 15 million plus to not actually have any ownership in that library at all. And that is what Xbox is banking on. That they've got a core user group that didn't buy anything other than the console and the subscription, and that they can crank the price up and make more money out of them. And yeah, that will benefit them in the short term. It might not benefit them in the long term, but we don't even know what their midterm strategy is at the moment. With this whole everything is an Xbox methodology of talking about the experience, which is a reference to the experience rather than to the the hardware itself. It may end up being something like Stadia, where all you need is a controller and a Fire Stick, and off you go, and whatever you want to play it on. But there's multiple different ways of accessing Microsoft gaming software at the moment, and it seems to be they're leaning heavier and heavier into that. Where does that leave those who just bought a Series X and a Gamepass subscription, and that account for more than 60-something% of consoles sold in this generation from Microsoft? They're certainly not going to be able to afford $1,700, $600 or $1,000 handheld gaming PC that doesn't even play most of the Game Pass library. What's the next steps on from that? So, I mean, we might be looking at the first major steps to another major pivot for Xbox. No one really knows, because they won't give us any clear indication, even at an investors conference level. They don't talk about gaming in terms of what the forward look is, other than to say, oh, we expect revenue growth in the small, in the low to middle single digits, which can be achieved by cranking up prices and burning through their user base until they decide that it's just not worth it anymore and they turn it off, or they bundle it up and sell it off. I mean, EA just got sold for $55 billion in a leveraged buyout. You could probably, you'd take a loss on it at the moment, but you'd wind out ABK maybe for 60, 65 at a glance. Microsoft could probably dump the whole of Xbox for maybe 65. It's not a huge amount of cash flow value in there, so they'd have to do it based on assets or something, but it's not a bad thing for them to want to go after money. It's what corporations do. It's what they're geared for. It's what they're wired for. Where it becomes bad is that those that are locked into it, that can't get out of it, they're the ones that are going to pay for it, because it's either cough up the cash or don't do it anymore. And to dismiss others in such a blasé fashion, it's great if the individual, as an individual, if you've got the ability to just withstand and pivot and sustain these sort of challenges. But there's an awful lot of people out there, and it's probably an awful lot of kids that are now going to be faced with the reality of having to go and ask their parents for more money for that subscription, and the parents might be turn around saying, sorry, no. And if there's bugger all support in brick and mortar stores and a very minimal second-hand market, like the broader piece, you got to look at the whole thing here. We've spent hours tonight discussing this point. What's the broad picture point here? If there's no physical support, the second-hand market is effectively non-existent, because they forced it all to go to digital. They pushed it hard into digital, and now access to the digital libraries is being cranked up in terms of cost and access and limited. It's not, the average demographic of an Xbox gamer isn't a 35-year-old with a full-time job and a steady income stream. The demographics for Xbox are all over the place, especially as an entry-level point with the Series S, for those that bought it to just get access to those smaller-end games, playing Halo and all those sort of things. There's not an awful lot of options there for them, particularly for those who don't have a steady income stream to be able to support this thing. So I just wanted to, suppose, wax lyrical a little bit about that, because as much as the comments seem to have annoyed logic, and fair enough, it did raise an interesting example of a dynamic that exists in that not everybody is in a position where they can just flick a switch and change their hobby. or change access to that hobby. And it's quite hypocritical for people to defend and say that it's consumer friendly 1 minute, and then suddenly this stuff happens and they turn around and go, oh, it's the worst decision ever made. They'll reverse it. I've seen people talking about, oh, they'll just reverse it like they did last time because of the outcry. They're not going to reverse this one. It's the timing and everything else that's been put into it, and the videos and stuff put out. It's not like they've just put it on a blog and off they go. This one's solid, and it's quite a. I said before, I think Michael Pachter made the comments about the wrong company.
So let's talk about something you mentioned, the economic side of it, because as much as this person in the chat wants to sit here and like claim that we're ponies and all this stuff, we're actually trying to like Faulkie just said, trying to parse out what this actually means for gaming, like, and for the gaming industry. Because here's the deal: on this channel, on what you're going to get coming here to the Gaming Den every single week, I find news topics that are surrounding the gaming industry, and it is my chance to talk about those news stories with friends of mine, with new faces, with new information, and I absolutely love it. This is where I get to talk and discuss the gaming week that was, essentially, and I love it. But in relation to that, sometimes it's good to look at something that's kind of market adjacent. And so somebody in the chat mentioned Amazon Prime Gaming, and like, did you know they were canceling it? I said, yes, I actually did know, because I got an email stating they were. There's some other shit that they're doing that's kind of jacked up. They're eliminating a lot of the family plans and family sharing and things like that. They are basically doing what Netflix did a while back, where you can't share with people who are now outside of your household, blah, blah, blah. And we have been on a family plan with them for years at this point, with my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law, and our family. And so I got the email, and my wife was like, well, how much is it going to cost them, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, and she was like, we don't really use Amazon that much. And I was like, no, we really don't. Because we don't. We keep it for Amazon Prime so we can watch some of the TV shows, but all of those shows are on another subservice somewhere else most of the time. And so it gets into that cost analysis of, yeah, we can probably not worry about ever paying for this ever again. We'll pay whatever the shipping is on the few packages a year that we order from Amazon and just move on with our life. Because at a certain point, it does become an economic decision. $360 a year. Even if all you did was purchase full price games all year, not sale games, not anything like that, you would end up with, what is that, 35, so 7 titles? Is that right? 7 times 5 is 30, sorry, 5 titles.
35.
5 titles.
Yeah.
You end up with 5 brand new titles a year. Now, most people don't purchase 5 brand new titles a year. They purchase 2 to 3. Then they fill in the other 10, 12. Go ahead.
And that's not even most, right? Like we go back to the February session with Piscatella on Kind of Funny Games Daily, right? And if I probably don't have all the numbers memorized at this point, but it's like 12%. What is it? It's like 4% of people buy a game a month, or more than 2 games a month. I think I want to say like 12% of people will buy 2 games. God, I can't remember. It's like a 12% and an 18%. 30% of gamers won't buy a game this year at all. Right, and then I think it's like 12% will buy 2 games for the whole year. So that's primarily like your Call of Duty, the people who buy Call of Duty and Madden, or Madden and NBA 2K2, right? And then like 4% of gamers will buy, will buy maybe it's 18, 12, and 4. I'm probably not right, but then some number, the lowest percentage of gamers will buy like more than 1 game a month. Right, but it's incredibly small, right? It's 34% of the market at best, is actually buying games essentially, and the vast majority of the market is buying like not even a game a year, and it's only 4%, right? The conversation that goes on Twitter that this is hyper focused around, that they're not even, I mean, they're not the entirety of the 4% of the market, but they represent 4%, the buying habits of 4% of the people in the market.
Sure. And so it's funny you mentioned that. There was that study that was released on how much people game every month or it was every week. And it's like average of like 2 hours. I think PlayStation was of like what 190 minutes or something like that. So what is that? 3 hours, 3.5? Like I'm sitting here going, dang, I game like I thought I would, because once again, social media, the fan base that is online. I don't remember who said it. Like I think it was Faulkie who was like 5% of the fan base is online, and of that 5%, you got 0.5 that are actually super vocal and all that other stuff. So like you look at the online community and everything is surrounding playtime. How much do you game? You can't call yourself a gamer unless you put in this many hours or that many hours. And like for me, I thought I was just a ooch above average, playing about 10 to 12, 15 hours a week. That's generally what I play. It's generally how much I game per week. And when I saw those stats, I was like, damn, I'm going to have to change my name from aggressively average, because I am way above average when it comes to playtime. But when you start looking at those numbers, $360 a year. $360 a year.
Nearly $1 a day.
I spend probably $500 to $550 a year total on gaming. That is generally speaking, including the $210, and this is pre-tax, the $210 a year I spend on my $370 titles a year. That is the few months that I'm generally subscribed, so about $100 a year for subscriptions between PlayStation Extra, dropping down to Essential, cutting it all together, going back into it. Probably about $100 a year there. And then the rest I spend on little $5 title here, $15 title here, what have you. And that's generally how my gaming budget goes for the year. So your Xbox looking at me going, I want you to pay $360 a year, but I'm going to give you access to all of these brand new games. And I'm going to look at you and go, I don't have time to play the shit that I have. It doesn't make sense to me. And even when I was on PlayStation Plus Premium, it started to not make sense to me to have access to 700 plus titles when my ass can only play one of those bastards at a time. Like, it literally made absolutely no sense. It's the same reason why I don't have 30 different streaming services for my TV. We can only watch one or two of them at a time. So it's a 75% drop in 2024. Oh, okay, yeah. Shit, Thrifty, we spend quite similar, but I need to drop my cost to say, yeah, I don't track. I'm well over 1,000 this year. So if that's including, I know Hero for you being at $1,000 this year, I think that's because of a couple collector's editions and stuff like that. I don't normally purchase those for that reason, because that eats into my overall budget. I know it doesn't seem like I follow one because of this past 6-week cycle that we're in right now with Lost Soul aside. Do what?
Thrifty my ass.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I've been thrifty all year. Get to this point, and it's like, Lost Soul aside, Trails in the Sky, Ghost of Yotei, and Battlefield 6. And all of those are brand new titles. All of those are coming out within a few weeks of each other. And all of those will be in my collection. 2 of them were. I traded in Lost Soul aside because reasons. But, like, that game was disappointing as all hell. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. You can go watch my review if you want to know why. Yep, collector's editions and 4 copies of Expedition 33. Hey, listen, that game was amazing. I had somebody give me shit about it the other day. That game was absolutely phenomenal. And she didn't really give me shit about it, but she did say that she was like, I mean, it was okay. I was like, oh my god, it was amazing. But that's okay. Josh Ayer said that would have been a good physical to have. I bet it would be worth a lot in a few years. Yeah, I actually have a physical copy of it because I was able to get mine from GameStop, I believe. That was actually what got me going back into GameStop, was because they had it physical and I was able to get it from them. So I was like, I'm going to start shopping here again. Anyways, the whole goal of this is to figure out what happens from here. Like with Xbox, we have marketing that sends so many mixed messages. And to his credit, Centurion said it earlier that Xbox isn't leaving the console space, to which I would say define leaving, because currently they're outsourcing their hardware to Asus. So, yeah, they've promised consoles and everything, but if you go back to 2017 and 2018, they also promised about 8 different games that have all been canceled since. So whose word are you really looking at? They also only said 4 titles.
And they didn't promise, I mean, I could be mistaken, but they didn't promise consoles. They promised hardware.
True. Correct. There is a distinction. But I'm talking
includes controllers.
And I'll say
in-house hardware.
That's what they promised most recently, because it frequently changes. So most recently, what they promised was that Xbox, in partnership with AMD, would be a line of products across multiple product categories, right, that carried the Xbox
name. See, the last thing I heard was that next gen they were supposed to have, that they're already working on their own in-house console for next gen. That might have changed, but that is what I remember them saying. Faulkie, what were you going to say?
Say it with me. Licensing deals.
God, I hope not. I really hope not. Because here's how their licensing deals work. Look at what they did with Asus. Asus comes out. I'm about to get worked up. Asus comes out and gets the licensing deal with Xbox Allied, whatever the fuck it's called. The jumbled up mess of a name. They get it. They make 2 models. Boom. Got it. It has this cool app that's supposed to cut down lag time, cut down load-in time, make it dedicated, cut down a lot of the back end to make sure that your gaming experience is great. Well, then it comes out, and truth be told, that's not actually a Microsoft and Asus exclusivity deal. It's not like it's something that you can't get anywhere else. Oh, hell no. You can get it on the MSI Claw, you can get it on the Lenovo Go, you can get it wherever you want to. So, if we talk about licensing deals with Microsoft, those things are written on the same shit that Nintendo got for the Call of Duty deal. Like, they're worthless. It's toilet paper at that point to be flushed down and sent out to the ocean somewhere. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Jez himself on the Gaming Grindhouse did a stream showing his MSI Claw running the dedicated Xbox app and proving that it worked, not exclusive, nothing like that. So literally, the Asus ROG Ally X and Asus S, or whatever it's called, those two are nothing more than a paint job with, let's see, I wrote down a few weeks ago, an added button that says Xbox. That's what you're championing as hardware. That's why I called you adorable in the chat. Because you don't even see it. All you come here and see is 3 people who own a PlayStation, one of which didn't own one for a little bit, and you automatically assume that all we're going to do is bash and bash and bash and bash. And that's not the case. We are literally trying to bring a bit of reason and logic, no pun intended because he's on the show, but like we're trying to bring a bit of reason and logic into this scenario to make it fucking make sense, because right now it really doesn't. It doesn't make sense how you're going to tell somebody, like there has to be an end goal. At least in my mind, there has to be something that they did this decision for, And it's either in my mind it's one of two things. It's either we want you to see the ridiculousness of this subservice because we realize the ridiculousness, we can't come out and tell you we fucked up, so we're going to raise the price and make you stop and make you go back to buying games because we make a hell of a lot more money off of you when you buy a game. And we're going to sell you access to the online multiplayer, just like PlayStation does, and it's going to be great. You can sign up on this tier or this tier for it. Awesome. I don't think they want Ultimate to succeed in any form or fashion. That's where I go to first. You're trying to push people away, get them on the smaller service, get them at $120 a year, or what's the other one? 15 times 150, 170, call it $200 a year on the other one, and then have them go to buying your games because you're going to make a higher profit on that. So that's the first one. The second one is they are going to cut ties with the console altogether. I'm saying, air quotes, console. They're going to cut ties with the Xbox living room hardware altogether. And they are going to be strictly focused on software, which makes a subservice from them actually seem brilliant because the price is still fucked up. But having a subservice when you're solely focused on software makes sense. Let's see. EA does it. Ubisoft does it. Hell, there's There's another one that I can't think of. There's another subservice out there in gaming.
What, the
Right,
Rockstar one? Take Two.
That's it. Yeah. So people do it when they have software surrounding it and where their software is the main focus. So trying to bring light to this, because right now, just like the special guest we had in the chat, they're advertising and doing things that speak out of both sides of their mouth, and they're both conflicting with one another. And so I don't think we've come to a full resolution on what the fuck they're doing. We're going to have to wait until more stuff comes to light. But it feels something about this feels off. The last price increase feels okay. This one, even though we called it, even though we saw it coming, even though we said, hey, listen, you're not getting Call of Duty for $15 a month. You can skip it. Like, those were just logical takes of the information that we were being given. It wasn't ponyism, wasn't PlayStation fanboyism, wasn't anything like that. It's just looking at the numbers going, hey, they just spent a fuck ton of money on ABK. You're not getting all of that for $15 a month. Like, you're just not. There's no way in hell that that's profitable. It can't be. And lo and behold, what tiers don't get Call of Duty? The tiers that are $15 or below a month. Those are the ones that don't get it. Why? Because it's not sustainable giving them a premier title, a title that sells a crap ton. PlayStation made a shit ton of money on last year's Call of Duty. Shit ton of money. Hand over fist. Enjoyed every bit of it. Promoted it left and right. Loved it. Had a great time with it. Most of the sales came from PlayStation. Xbox is sitting over there looking, going, we got $15 a month from a few people to play it. And PlayStation's like, yeah, we got with 30%, so we got about $20 of it, and there's more people over here playing it than over there. So like, there's no matter how you sliced it, for the first purchase, for the first month of purchase, PlayStation got the better cut anyways. So why are they going to give it away for cheap when they could be charging you $360 a year? $360 a year. If I ever pay that much for a fucking subservice, I need one of y'all to be a good friend and find me and just hit me in the face and go, you know what that's for, and then just walk off. Just please. Because they would have to give me a lot. I'm talking like they would have to do some sort of bundle from hell to get me to sign up for $360 a month. Or $360 a year, I mean. Also, JP Loco in my chat did say, he's like, well, with the Ultimate tier being priced at what it is, I guess it really is Xbox 360 now. And we all laughed our asses off. So, all right.
So I think I want to make an attempt to kind of pull everything together to get back to where we
Sure.
were trying to get to, like where this made sense, and we brought the hardware thing into it too. So I'm going to try and make this quick. So I think it's clear. I'm going to base that on what Sarah Bond's last video was in Lisa Sue with this AMD announcement. I'm going to assert that it's clear that they are going to have hardware. I think the Xbox hardware that's not licensed, right, is going to be, and I've said this several times, I think it's going to become a small boutique style business like Microsoft Surface was. And I think it's going to be to put a baseline, right, homegrown console out there that's not going to be large in numbers. I'm sorry, I said console. I don't think it's going to be a console. I think it is going to be this category of device that we used to have in the gaming space called a micro PC. And micro PCs back in the 90s were these things like the Commodore 64, the VIC-20, the TI-99, the Coleco Atom, the Amiga, the Atari ST. They were these things that were computers that sat above the consoles but below like a full-blown desktop setup. And so I think that's going to be their go-to-market, and then they're also going to encourage the laptop vendors to get in the pool and make Xbox branded things that scale across multiple SKUs with multiple specs. And I think eventually you'll go to an Xbox hardware page and you'll see this array of hardware stuff that's labeled as Xbox. I think from a subscription standpoint, right, where maybe some of what we saw today makes sense, and here come some of the negatives. I think the intention is going to be for them to close more studios. I think the bets that they're going to knuckle down on are the big ones. So I think your Activisions are going to stay around. Your Blizzards are going to stay around. I think your smaller Bethesda studios, I think we're going to see more closures. I think we're going to see Machine Games potentially go away or be consolidated. And so I think you're going to see like Bethesda stick around, id stick around. Like I said, your big studios that are carrying a lot of water. And then I think you're going to have 1, 2, 3 of maybe the smaller studios that they made in the acquisitions, like Obsidian and what was the other one that I was going to pick on? What is gosh, I could see his face. What is the I always forget these guys. What's the Psychonauts studio? Double Fine. And I think you'll see them stick around. And I think that's mostly a goodwill play. But something like Ninja Theory, like I just don't know. Like and this is based on kind of what we're hearing coming out of the Xbox camp, that what has happened in the acquisition is that lots of the Activision business types have ascended into positions of business leadership, right, within the Xbox corporate structure. And I think their dialogue is driving this. It doesn't make sense to make bets unless they're big bets. It doesn't make sense to make bets unless they're guaranteed. It doesn't make sense to absorb a lot of risk. So this is where, in the hardware space, I think this is what we're seeing, is we're seeing de-risking. We're saying, look, we're not going to take on the risk. We're going to transfer that risk to our laptop vendor partners because they're better suited to absorb it than we are from a hardware perspective. And the reason I think you're going to see the drawdown in the studios is because I think for Game Pass, from a total cost accounting perspective, it is cheaper for them to buy content, right, than to pay for riskier bet content grown out of first party. I think the guaranteed bets, right, the Call of Duties, the World of Warcraft, the Overwatch, those types of things, and admittedly it seems like anything Obsidian touches almost, those seems like guarantees. Those things seem to be like things you're okay paying for if you're risk averse. But the smaller stuff that you're not guaranteed, like you don't know how a Machine Games game is going to do, right? You don't know how well like a Ninja Theory game is going to do to move your needle. So I think we're going to see those dissolved. I think we're going to see them being willing to pay for content, which is why you see like the tier structuring, right? Because like the only people that you really need to pay for Ultimate are the people who want the Call of Duties, right? And the first party stuff. And then you're fine having your distribution of other Game Pass subscribers be across those lower tiers because they're just paying in to help you go buy and license content, which we've also heard they have become more draconian about in driving deals that are not as fruitful, right, for vendors. So I think that'll be the business model. I think it'll be de-risked hardware. I think it will be in-house hardware, but that is like a boutique business. They're very small in number, like below 10 million units of install base. That is heavily PC based. I think this is why you're also seeing their development pipeline become like disincentivized from being proprietary in-house studio engines and going to Unreal Engine 5, because that's going to be easier to outsource, easy to contract. And when you do want to hire people in, easier for you to hire people. You're not as engendered to, well, we got to hold on to this developer as they get promoted to become more expensive because they're the ones who know the in-house studio proprietary engine. So you're going to see a much more fluid and mobile workforce that is cheaper to maintain.
I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong about most of the stuff you just said in there. Like, that sounds... I agree with what Josh said. Going back to the micro PCs where you have this lesser thing, and that sounds like a freaking nightmare. There's a reason those things aren't around anymore. And so,
well,
wow.
The reason they're not around anymore is because the market wouldn't support them, right? Because of how much they cost. But from a capability perspective, I mean, they were more capable than consoles. They just weren't as capable as PCs. And so that whole thing is a thing that Microsoft does have to invest in. They've got to figure out a way to make those things perform it so that, because they're going to be playing PC games, they're not going to be playing optimized console games.
Which is why they're doing the dedicated app that shuts off stuff in the background and all that. That makes sense. I didn't say it was wrong, Hero. I just said...
Yeah. And I'll say, like, and I know David and I disagree on this, and I believe that the silicon that comes from AMD will be further customized and tailored in conjunction with the AI code that runs on the MPU. That's where you get the customization and the optimization on that platform.
David, we have been here for 3 hours and 30 minutes. I am going to end this very, very soon. Do you have anything to add at this current moment?
Not really. I think we've talked it all fairly well. A lot of different aspects to try and unpack what it means and what it could do.
The definition of this podcast, if I had to put like a big, huge, you know how people... And I used to do this, how they take like the text and like slant it across the thumbnail. The text of this whole night would have been make it make sense. And I think that's what we've been trying to do. I hope we did a little bit. I hope that we have kind of informed the timeline on, or informed the people who are listening as to the timeline of what's gone on, where we're at now, what our hangups were, and all of that. Like, at the end of the day, we're all gamers. I game on Steam and PlayStation and mobile. Logic, I think, games on every freaking device you can, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Faulkie's the same. I think Faulkie has a computer and a PlayStation. And so, like, we're all...
And a Switch.
And a Switch. There you go. We're all in this, and we're all here to see gaming do well. And it is fun to do these shows and to make it make sense. And so I think that's what we tried to do tonight. Guys, we have 12 people still here. Dear God, I know it is so late. Thank y'all, for especially those of y'all who are in my American audience, because it is extremely late for us. Logic, I truly appreciate it. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're East Coast time zone, so I know it's even later for you. So the fact you're still here, I truly appreciate that, man. I really do. It's a hard thing to stay up till 1 a.m. in the morning talking about games when we know we have to work tomorrow. So, anyways, with that being said, guys, hit the like button. I will get these guys links to their socials, their YouTube channel. That's for Logic. Faulkie. My wife, Faulkie, you'll enjoy this. My wife knows you're kind of a recurring guest on the show, and you've been on quite a few, and you're a friend of the channel and all that, and that you do other shows, because we've talked about sometimes where, like, you have to split your time and all that. And she was like, so does Faulkie have his own show? He sounds like he should have his own show. And mind you, she doesn't watch this. Like, she comes in, she drops a like sometimes, and she bounces right out. Like, but just from the little bit that she hears on the recaps of the shows from me, she put together that you should have your own. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's it. So
I appreciate the support.
You have support for a channel that you don't even have yet. That's nice. Speaking of that, we have gained a few more subscribers. I always subscribe to the method of slow and steady. And yeah, so we are 210 away from 1,000 now. So really happy to see that. Also, real quick, just some housekeeping stuff. Because of Stephen Leon coming in and dropping a 10-member bomb, we have earned a Saturday Night Live for the members. And that name just kind of came to me. I think I might keep that. I like that name. And so, obviously the night can change, but I like the Night Live thing as long as I don't get sued or demonetized for it. That sounds great to me. And so, yeah, we will have that on Saturday night. I will give y'all a couple, literally probably just 2 options of what y'all get to see until Battlefield 6 comes out, and then we'll put that in the mix. But for the next few weeks, I will be mainlining 1 of 3 games. And so you'll get the option of what you get to hang out with and what we can talk about while I play those 3 games. And so with that being said, Logic, we will start with you. Where can folks find you, man?
You can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube.
Awesome. Faulkie, what about you, man?
You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever it's called this week, at Faulkie87. And you can find me poking around on a few different podcasts. And I think I'm back here in a couple of weeks.
You are back here in a couple of weeks. Speaking of that, next week, and by the way, guys, if he's on Brap's podcast, I see him. You've done Mooch before too, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. Like
he'll usually when there's some technical financial thing that needs explaining, he'll give me a tap, and I'll just wander into his backyard and see what's going on.
Okay, so we didn't really get anybody, any of the members, to give us a topic for the members' voice this week, but one of the commenters on it said, because I'd mentioned that I was having both of y'all on, he goes, "Awesome, the 2 guys who like to speak into the Pythagorean theorem." I was like, that's funny, because because y'all both are highly respected as very intelligent people within this community. So it is it's a good thing when I remember when I reached out to Logic, I was like, hey, here's the dates and blah blah blah. And by the way, I cannot tell y'all how awesome it is that both of y'all reached out to me about podcasts and like, hey, am I on this week? I have it on my schedule. Like, that to me, I'm very schedule oriented, and like I have to have a set schedule. That's why I send out like hey, pick your time slot because of that. So I just want to shout out y'all. That like tickled a part in my brain that made me super happy, because I feel like sometimes I keep up with the schedule of 8 people because I have roughly 8 guests that cycle through. ADHD, yeah, no doubt. So next week we have a very special guest back on the show. We have Stephen Leon himself coming back on the show. And I have told him that we will be doing a just him and me, because I got to hear just him and Jez on the Grindhouse, and letting Steven talk just for 5-10 minutes, the dude brought up some really, really hella good points. So we will have him on next week, and it'll be me and him just bouncing ideas off of each other and basically doing the same thing I did here with 3 people. And so look forward to seeing y'all then. You can follow me on Twitter at Thrifty AAG. That stands for Aggressively Average Gamer, because they know me as Thrifty and they know me as this now. So there you go, guys. And hey, to the one person that just showed up at the very end, thank you for coming in. We are heading out. Y'all have a great one, and we will see you on the next one.